Much better after last night, missing the ballgame the last two. Aramis Ramirez, Mark Grudzielanek, Paul Bacco, Greg Maddux. Corey had a huge night last night.
Oh, Cap, you know, that's going to be big for the Cubs. You know, had such a great August and then went to Montreal. It was 0 for Montreal, and then hitless in his first game against the Expos, but he busted out in a big way last night. You know, short and quick. Anytime Corey goes the other way like he does right there, boy, is that pretty. He's using the big part of the field from left center to right center, his right shoulder staying closed. Part of his success against lefties this year is it really forces him to stay closed just a little bit longer. When you keep that front shoulder in, your bat is quicker. Doesn't drag through the zone. And he threw the head twice last night. 2 home runs for Corey. Boy, you get him on base, he can make some things happen on the base path.
Hopefully he'll bust out the whooping stick again tonight.
That's right.
All right, baseball is right around the corner. We'll get you out to Wrigley Field for Chip and Steve's play-by-play call. Stick around. We'll be right back.
John and Tom are regular guys. They do the usual things, the usual way, at the usual places. One day, John was down at the credit union when he decided to go unusual. Tom also did something he'd never done before.
The usual? Yeah, I'll have one of those.
Good on you, Tom. Don't make it the usual. Make it Mike's Hard Cranberry Lemonade. Hardly the usual.
Indianapolis, 500 miles that test the might of man and machine on the Firehawk Indy 500 race tire. The performance and unity technology of the Firehawk Indy 500 street tire. Born at Indy, performs everywhere. See your participating Firestone retailer for free Friday ticket booklets. Tickets good for IndyCar Series events Friday, September 10th, 2004 at Chicagoland Speedway.
Introducing Arby's Market Fresh Low Carbies Wraps. Try the Market Fresh Turkey Ranch and Bacon or the Market Fresh Ultimate BLT. Great taste without all the carbs.
On the next Beyond the Glory, Pete Sampras was a champion with the heart of a lion.
Pete's a Joe DiMaggio for tennis.
But when his critics crossed the line...
You can criticize me, but don't criticize my family.
It never feels good to have people talk negative about you.
He silenced them with the finest performance of his career.
I had the last word, and that feels great.
Pete Sampras, Beyond the Glory, Sunday on FSN.
That's going to do it for us on the pregame show. The Cubbies and the Expos are next. For Dave, I'm Dave. We will see you after the game. It's going to be a good one. Greg Maddux looks for win number 14. See you after the ballgame.
Closed captioning on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers.
Last night, the Cubs couldn't hang on in extras, despite Corey's resurgent power.
Fly ball belted right field deep. Did Patterson go deep again? He did against another lefty.
Tonight, Mad Dog goes for more glory as the Northsiders bid adieu to Montreal for the 2004 campaign. Cubs and Expos, Game 3, right now on Fox Sports Net.
A cool and crisp September evening here on Chicago's North Side. It's the wrap-up of a 3-game series between the homestanding Cubs and the Montreal Expos. Temperatures in the low 60s, the wind blowing straight in off Lake Michigan. But boy, the wild card race is heating up, and all the fun comes your way next here on Fox Sports Net Chicago Plus. Hi again, everybody. Steve Stone, Chip Carey back at the ballpark. Cubs lost a 12-inning affair last night, and Stoney, the wild card race now a 4-team affair with less than a month to play.
Real easy to look behind in this game, but you really can't do that. You have to look ahead. And ahead is the wild card race. And as you can see, reflective of what happened today, that's exactly how things stand. Houston has won 19 of their last 22. They're red hot. San Francisco lost last night to Colorado. That's fortunate. Florida's come into town in a day, and you can see they're hot on the heels of the Cubs. So you have to win tonight. And to do that, Greg Maddux is going to have to take advantage of a friendly wind blowing in. But the Cubs have a secret weapon. That's the leadoff man, Corey Patterson.
Corey Patterson was the lone Cub able to beat the Winds last night. 2 home runs, 4 hits for Corey Patterson, and he's done a great job against lefties, and he'll see another one tonight.
Talked to Corey Patterson before the game, and he said that he looks for that first fastball, even if it's on the second pitch. That's the one they try to sneak ahead. That's the one he hits out of the ballpark, and last night he crushed a couple of them. So this is a guy that's been red hot against the lefties. He is the running game. He's a man, if he gets on, the Cubs are going to score. This is not going to be a high-scoring affair. They're going to have to out-execute Montreal.
Greg Maddux is going for the Cubs. He's had a terrific second half. He's creeping ever closer to that 15-win mark. And Stoney, with Greg on the mound, you couldn't have drawn up a better weather night for him to pitch for the Cubs.
Last time he faced Montreal in Montreal, he completely shut them down. And Scott Downs is going to the mound. He's a former Cub. Now, 2 of the last 3 times he's gone to the mound have been against the Atlanta Braves, and they absolutely murdered him. This is a guy whose control is spotty. Tonight, if you walk people, you run into a big right-hand lineup that can hit the ball, if not out of the ballpark, certainly rattle the ivy. The Cubs are going to try to do that early. They're going to try to take the heart out of the Expos. But it's an Expo team that's won 2 of 5. That's somewhat surprising against a Cub team that has a whole lot of talent and a 3.5 times higher payroll.
And a big bat back in the lineup for Dusty Baker and the Cubs tonight. Sammy Sosa back after a sore hip. Let's see if he can join the hit parade tonight as the Cubs ramp up their season series with the Montreal Expos tonight on Fox Sports Net Chicago Plus.
Fox Sports Net's coverage of Chicago Cubs baseball is brought to you in part by your local area Lexus dealer, who invite you to test drive a Lexus today. Geico Direct, a 15-minute phone call could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Comcast, proud to be Chicagoland's cable company. Mike's Hard Lemonade, hardly the usual, make it a Mike's. Chevy, see your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealer today for your chance to win a Chevy Equinox in the Summer of Baseball promotion. Walgreens, the pharmacy of the Chicago Cubs. Aflac, ask about it at work. Toyota, get the feeling. And by Southwest Airlines, over 2,800 nonstop daily flights to 60 destinations all across the country.
Their SUV before you check out the Hyundai Santa Fe. Inside, tons of space and lots of standard features, all for $4,400 less than a Toyota Highlander when comparably equipped. And outside, great looks powered by an available 3.5-liter V6 with award-winning quality backed by America's best warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles. The Hyundai Santa Fe starting at just $17,339 with utility package. Hyundai, win. Get a 2004 Santa Fe with $1,750 cash back or 0% APR.
Sweetie, to make me feel this way. What a wicked thing to do. Let me dream of you. What a wicked thing to say. I love you. You never felt this way. What a wicked thing to do.
This just in, 8-6.
We are set to go at Wrigley Field, the wrap-up of the season series between the Cubs and the Expos. Brad Wilkerson in the box, Greg Maddux on the mound, and Marvin Hudson calls that strike one. 65 degrees. Winds at 16 miles an hour out of the northeast tonight. A perfect night for both Greg Maddux and Scott Downs to work.
One thing, Maddux will throw more ground balls than Downs. He's going to be in better shape. The wind is about a third blowing harder than last night, so that's much to the pitcher's advantage.
Line drive, speared at first by Derek Lee, and there's out number 1. Let's check out the rest of the Montreal starting lineups tonight. Wilkerson leading off. Endy Chavez hitting second and center. Juan Rivera moves up to the number 3 spot with Termel Sledge in left. Brendan Harris, a former Cub farmhand, is at third base with Schneider. Jamie Carroll at second. Macier is tourist, the shortstop, and former Cub Scott Downs will pitch in bat 9.
There's a look at Greg Maddux on for the 28th time. He's looking for win number 14, and that would make him the team leader. And the key for him is to control Wilkerson and Chavez. Wilkerson hit the daylights out of that ball, but Derek Lee, as he's done all year, made a spectacular play.
Andy Chavez is 4 for 8 in the series. Had 4 hits in 6 tries in yesterday's game alone, and that one blooped toward left. Long run, Moises coming on. He'll slide and make the grab. Good play, 2 out.
The key for Greg Maddux is don't walk anybody and just allow them to hit the ball, preferably early in the count. The wind is knocking this ball back toward the infield, and Moises comes on, and he makes the catch.
Juan Rivera, the hitter, 2 for 9 in the series, 7 homers, 34 driven in. And a check swing roller softly hit left side. Aramis can't get it. Nomar had it, couldn't unload.
Well, they're probably going to give an error on Nomar, but well, I think that's a correct call, the base hit. And the reason is that when Ramirez went in front of Nomar, he screened him. I don't think Nomar saw the ball very well. So that's just a case of when the third baseman can't get it, but obscures the vision of the shortstop, you give the guy the benefit of the doubt. And there's Ramirez going across. Nomar bobbles it, but he was so close to Ramirez, I don't think he saw the hop until it was right on him. And here comes Moises Alou. He's coming in maybe to get a glove adjustment. And it looks like that's what happened. No, that's not the right glove. Get the bigger glove.
Whose glove is it is the question.
Let's take a look at the Corona defense and how they'll line up behind Maddux. It's Alou, Patterson, and Sosa left to right with Ramirez, Garciaparra, Grzelcyk, and Lee. The familiar Paul Bacco, the personal catcher of Greg Maddux behind the plate, and Maddux on the hill. Going for the team lead in wins.
And Greg 9-1 since the All-Star break.
He's thrown the ball great. In fact, he dominated this team just a short 8 or 9 days ago in Montreal.
Money pitchers pitch big in the second half of the year. And Greg has certainly been doing that. By the way, it's Ramon Martinez's glove that Alou is using at the moment, while someone will go to work on his leather and get it ready for his defensive work in the second inning.
If Marvin Hudson gives that size of the outside corner to Maddux, he's going to have a real good day.
The key on Maddux, obviously, if runners get on, they will try to run on it.
Well, he retired the first 2 runners. Now, Rivera's a decent but not great runner. He's 3 for 3 in stolen bags.
A ball and a strike. There goes Rivera. The throw to second, right on the money, and the tag missed apparently. Dana DeMuth says Rivera's in safely. We'll have to take another look. It's a stolen base.
He's now 4 for 4, and it's a slide that got him in. He dove away from the tag. Nomar Garciaparra thought he had him. And Paul Bacco made a very good, solid throw. He gets rid of the ball quickly. The throw is there.
Boy, it looked like he tagged him on the 5.
Well, let's take a look at this angle. This will be the definitive angle. Looks to me like he got him right on the R on his back. Nomar thought he got him. The deciding vote, Dana DeMuth.
And so now a new set of sides with a runner at second base, and Sledge still in the box. A count of 2 balls and a strike to him. San Diego a winner earlier today. They beat the Cardinals 10-5. Houston wins again. The Astros win their 12th consecutive ball game. That ties their franchise record set in 1999.
I would be careful with Sledge with a rookie on deck. And that rookie used to be a Cub.
Back to the screen, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Brendan Harris, who went in that convoluted 4-team deal that found the Cubs acquiring Nomar Garciaparra, is getting a start tonight. He's in the on-deck circle. Bear in mind, he's got 1 major league run batted in. He's only had 9 major league at-bats.
And Omar Minaya told us the key to the Cabrera-Garciaparra trade talks for him was young Brendan Harris. Broken back roller back to the mound. Maddux is out of the first inning. No score. Cubs coming up against Scott Downs here at Wrigley Field.
Out of 9 Toyota cars get over 30 miles per gallon. So what does that mean to you?
Road trip. Road trip.
From Indiana to California.
I'm going to Mount Rushmore. Portland. I love Portland.
Austin, Texas.
Santa Fe.
I drive to my mother-in-law.
With so many fuel-efficient cars, you can drive anywhere in a Toyota. So where are you going?
Sheboygan. Sheboygan?
Give your engine what it wants. Pennzoil, with time-release molecules, delivers non-stop protection throughout the life of your oil. Not just oil, Pennzoil.
Restlessness most often besets the younger sibling. Manifestations can include tomfoolery and mischief. Frequently at the expense of others. Cobalt, the new commotion coming to the Chevy family.
You're watching Chevy Baseball Wednesdays, presented by your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers.
Montreal gets a hit, a stolen base, and nothing else. And now former Cub Scott Downs to the mound. Here's the Cub lineup he'll face. Corey Patterson, a big night last night, again leads off. Derek Lee hits second. Nomar will bat third with Alu. Welcome back, Sammy Sosa. He's in the number 5 spot in front of Aramis Ramirez, Mark Grudzelanek, and the battery of Baco and Maddux here on a windy, chilly September 8th eve.
Here's a look at the former Cub, Scott Downs. On for his 8th start, the ERA a robust 7.22, averaging 5.1 walks per 9 innings. Now he's writing out something behind the mound, and he didn't write enough words to say get the ball over, but that's what the Cubs are going to have to try to make him do tonight.
I certainly wouldn't think that would be his last will and testament either. I mean, he's been hit hard, but certainly not that badly.
2 out of the last 3 starts have come against the Braves, and they have killed him.
Right. 1 strike pitch to Patterson. There's the big breaking ball. You know, Scott would love to beat the Cubs tonight. He was a very highly thought of young man and young left-handed pitcher with Chicago. We traded him to the Expos for Rondell White back during Don Baylor's tenure here. And Scott was very emotional about that. He's loved the city of Chicago, wanted to spend his career with the Cubs, but knew that the Chicago team was looking for a man to play left field. And he was the man sent packing to the Expos. And a slow roller to the right side, convenient hop for Wilkerson, and he'll make the easy play for out number 1.
The guy they can't wait to see, Scott Downs, is Moises Alou. He's 3 for 3 against him lifetime. He's hitting cleanup with Sammy Sosa in the 5 spot.
Derek Lee, the hitter. He hit a couple of balls last night that would have been long home runs any other day but yesterday. Absolutely crushed him, but the wind knocked him back. He looks at the ball low, 1 ball, no strikes.
The line drives will always go out of the ballpark. Towering fly balls, especially to left center tonight, have to be tattooed. We saw Corey Patterson take advantage of it. Left-handers can hit the ball out. See, the wind is blowing right in at the Expo dugout.
Line drive right field. On comes Rivera. He'll play it on a hop. And Derek Lee's aboard with his 3rd hit of the series in front of Nomar Garciaparra.
Now Downs has given up 5 home runs in just 34 innings of work. That's a very high total. See Rivera realizing that early in the ball game, no reason to charge that ball and let it get by you. Have to be aware of the move of Downs.
Ground ball towards short, might be 2. There's 1. Carroll turns it, And the first inning in the books. Scott Downs, a successful first inning under his belt. We have no score.
Congratulations! You launched the pink slip virus. Your office is now infected. They'll soon trace it back to you. Good luck finding a new job.
Want to get away? Now you can. Fly Southwest Airlines from Chicago Midway to cities in the West for just $79.
You are now free to move about the country.
Hey, Cubs fans, looking for a new way to get to Wrigley Field? Try riding your bike. There are several bike racks surrounding the ballpark, or drop off your bike free of charge at our bike check service located at the corner of Clark and Waveland. For more information, visit www.cubs.com.
Focus and Adele, a Focus and Adele. Get the car and you'll go far with a Focus and Adele. The Dell PC is free. The Dell PC is free. The printer's fat. The monitor's black. The Dell PC is free.
Get into any 2005 Ford Focus with 0% financing or $2,000 cash back, and get a Dell computer with a flat panel monitor and printer, all free.
A Focus and a Dell!
Cubs baseball is brought to you in part by Midas. For mechanics known for their work and their word, trust the Midas touch. Corona Extra, miles away from the ordinary. And by Ford. Visit your local Ford store.
Well, welcome back, Brendan Harris, the former Cub farmhand, getting a start at third base for the Expos. Again, Omar Minaya really likes this kid. The question is a third baseman in the major leagues at this point in his career, Steve, will he be able to generate more power to play that position every day? He rolls out to his counterpart, Aramis Ramirez, however, opening up the second.
Omar Minaya hopes that that's the case. And it looked to me like Brendan Harris probably in the major leagues would be a pretty decent second baseman or a swing man. I'm not sure if he'll ever hit for the kind of power that you'd love to have at the corners in the big leagues, but he's still young, he still has a chance, and he runs well.
But he rolls out against Maddux, and that brings up Brian Schneider. Schneider 1 for 7 in the series, and finally the leather let him down last night. He committed his first error of the season for Montreal as their starting catcher last night. Big swing and a miss, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Schneider's never had a whole lot of luck with Greg Maddux. He joins a very big club in that respect. He's hitting 167 against him lifetime.
That missed the inside corner. It's 2-1. Doubleheader in Atlanta today. Phillies won game 1 5-3. Game 2 has yet to start. Tampa Bay and the Yankees hopeful of starting a doubleheader. Rain delay due to Hurricane Francis. Squiver again to the left side. Greg getting a lot of ground balls early. That's his trademark. 2 outs. And Jamie Carroll will be the hitter. And before he comes up, we'll remind you that in 1990, Andre Dawson was a National League All-Star. And this Friday, with the Marlins in town, the first 20,000 fans will get a scratch and win card. 100 random winners get a Mitchell & Ness Cooperstown Authentic Collection 1990 Andre Dawson home jersey. Fans are encouraged to hold on to their cards for second chance drawings throughout the game. There's no purchase necessary. For complete rules, visit Cubs.com.
Semmy doesn't want to get too deep in right field. That's where Jamie Carroll likes to go. Maddux watched him use an inside-out swing last night to get a base hit to right. There you look at the defense, and they're playing him as an off-field hitter.
Kind of surprised we haven't seen more of Carroll in the 6 games this year between the Cubs and Expos. He's a pesky out, tough guy to retire.
He's a tough guy to strike out. Usually he will make some contact, but they've chosen Val Pascucci a couple times, and he's made very little contact.
Carroll choking up on the bat. Deep crouch in the right-hand batter's box. Puts that in play. It's off Greg's glove. Grunzelonic fields and fires. Close play, and they got him. Derek Lee might have stolen that out. No argument from Jerry Morales. Nothing happening in the Expos second.
Aviator, Navigator.
A great choice, but a tough decision. Lincoln Navigator and Aviator.
Maybe I'll try it. No.
Now with $4,500 cash back or 0% financing for 60 months, plus $1,000 for Cadillac owners. See your local Lincoln Mercury dealer today. Travel well.
Will my car be ready this afternoon like you promised?
Yes.
Will you use a bunch of lingo I won't understand?
No.
Will you try to sell me something I really don't need?
No.
Do you like Broadway show tunes?
No.
It's peak driving season. Come to Midas for great value and service every day. Lifetime guaranteed brake pads or shoes are just $89.95 installed. And they're guaranteed for as long as you own your car. For mechanics known for their work and their word.
Trust the Midas touch.
A half hour of sports news like never before. Diverse guests, smart analysis, and challenging questions. I'm Max with Max Kellerman. Weeknights on FSN.
The 265 horsepower, 7-passenger Acura MDX. It's at home just about any place on Earth.
19 years ago today, a very special moment at Wrigley Field. Pete Rose ties Ty Cobb's record of 4,191 lifetime hits. A mark which he set himself against the San Diego Padres and Eric Shaw in Cincinnati. What an accomplishment for baseball's hit king, Pete Rose. Ground ball toward third. Harris gives ground. The ball ate him alive. And Moises Alou is aboard. Bob Rosenberg will flip the coin. And Alou gets the second Cub hit of the night.
Well, that's got to go as a hit because of the high hop. And Harris had a choice, and he took the wrong choice. Either come in and try to smother it on the short hop, which is a tough play, or you wait back on a ball with overspin. And this one, he decided to wait back. The ball takes a huge hop and just goes on by him. So now Moises 4 for 4 against Scott Downs.
Welcome back, Sammy Sosa. He's missed the last couple of games with some bursitis in the hip. And he takes a quick strike. It's 0-1. That's right down the middle, 0-2.
Well, Sammy has good rhythm after missing about a week of action. Then this would be a good matchup because Downs cannot throw the ball by him inside consistently.
That one gets by Schneider right through the 5-hole, and Alou in safely at second base.
That's going to go as a wild pitch, but this is a ball that most major league catchers stop. We'll have to wait and see if it hit the plate. But when a ball goes between your legs, it means that you don't get the glove down. And he didn't get the glove down. He tried to catch it instead of smothering it, and the ball went by him. So the Cubs now out of a double play situation, and Florida has jumped on top of the Mets again.
They've killed the Mets all year, and they're using some of their new parts to get some damage done. In fact, Florida added another part today. They signed David Weathers, who was cut loose by Houston. Weathers told me with the Astros his arm was really dragging. He'd been used an awful lot.
Well, he hasn't thrown in 10 days, so it should be rejuvenated.
Off the plate, full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. We welcome our affiliate Comcast and their viewers in Naperville to the park tonight.
This ball's away from Sammy. Best thing to do is just take it to the right side. Whatever he does in this at bat, If it doesn't end up in a walk, he's got to move Alou to third.
He could not, however. He strikes out, and that'll bring up Aramis Ramirez. 1 on, 1 out in the bottom of the second inning.
Ramirez is one of the few Cubs who's actually seen Scott down. That's a high fastball. It's on the outer portion. He throws it by Sammy.
Ramirez with 5 runs batted in the first 2 games of this series. He has 90 in total for the Cubs. With a month to play, he figures to cruise past triple digits. And remember, he's missed a lot of time with that groin injury this year.
Well, the arms in the outfield are pretty good. Rivera throws well. Chavez throws well. Sledge, average left field arm. Best arm by far, Rivera in right.
Belt high strike, 0-2. Ramirez thought that was too high. Off his thumbs and out of play. Who's going to win the Cy Young Award in the National League this year?
Roger Clemens, with his win today, moved to 16-4. Roy Oswald has 17 wins with 9 losses. But the big 2 in Houston combined are 20 over 500. The entire Cubs starting rotation, 8 over 500.
And remember, that's a Houston team that was thinking Andy Pettit and Roger Clemens were going to team up and do a lot of damage, and they did until Pettit's elbow flared up.
Well, where the Cubs have the advantage over that Houston team is the fact that the tail end of their starting rotation isn't near as good as the Cubs.
Fly ball right field. It's going to be caught by Rivera. Alou's going to have to hurry back to second, and he is doubled up again.
Well, there's a dandy of a base running play, and the Cubs get taken out of the inning.
Nothing happening in our second. No score.
Take your luxury accommodations with you. See your Chicago area Lexus dealer.
Copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Chicago Cubs and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the Chicago Cubs.
At Geico.com, you can get free rate quotes and handle all your car insurance needs online. But we like to make it interesting. Here's an idea we received via email. Yo, I think your website would be the bomb if you had the gecko do the robot.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
It's baseball season in Perfect. Here, bases and cameras are always loaded. RBI stands for Really Big Ice Cream, and the home team's record is spotless, as are their uniforms. Of course, life isn't always perfect, so there's Walgreens, open every day, many 24 hours, with everything needed to have a little fun. That's life. This is Walgreens.
Max from New York with Max Kellerman. Weeknights on FSN.
Macias Turris leads off our third inning for Montreal. The Cubs ran themselves out of the second inning as Moises gets doubled off second on a line drive to right, where Juan Rivera picked up his 13th assist. Line to right, Sammy breaks in, drifts back, and it's over his head. He misplayed that ball. Here's Turris on his way to second, and we'll see how that's going to be scored.
It's probably going to be scored a double. We'll have to wait and see. Sammy came in, the ball took off, and line drives do have a tendency to do that. So it's the third double of the year for his tourist. He hit the ball on the nose. Sammy just takes a false step, and then he can't recover. That ball taking off over his head. And now most likely you'll see Downs bunt it. He wants to bunt it at Ramirez.
Downs with 3 sacrifices this year, so he's handled the bat pretty well. Snap throw back towards second, but his tourist and a middle infielder figured something like that might happen. He's back very easily.
Yeah, that's really the case, and you hit it right on the head. He's a shortstop, so he knows he's used that play many times, especially with Brian Schneider. So at least this time he didn't fall for it.
1-0 pitch to Scott Downs. And it's bunted high in the air and fouled out of play. Steve, I know it's been a very frustrating facet of this Cub team all year long, but they've really got to straighten out their base running adventures if they're going to win this wild card and advance in the playoffs. This has become a very frequent and familiar sight for the Cubs.
Well, you see, Moises doesn't pick up the line drive. And then I don't care how much you hustle, you can't get back in. And they've done it consistently. One of the reasons why they're 14 and 24 in one-run games. Keep getting taken off the base paths, it makes a close game much more difficult to win.
Downs hasn't been able to get a bunt down yet. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, Maddux is such a good fielder that he's going to break toward the line and hope with Ramirez staying back that they can cut down his tourist. The key for Downs now with 2 strikes, what he's been trying to do is bunt it hard enough to force Ramirez to make the play. Right now he's just looking for some contact on the bunt.
Will Frank Robinson keep it on here? 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I would think so.
Downs gets it down. Maddux doesn't have a play but the one he made to first. Scott lays down his 4th sacrifice. And now his tourist 90 feet away with the top of the Montreal order up and 1 man down.
When you have 2 strikes, forget about direction. You just want to make sure you get the bunt down. And Paul Bacco was the man charged with telling Greg Maddux where the play would be. Downs bunted it right back to him, and you know that Bacco is yelling, no chance at third. And Maddux takes a look there anyway and then makes the out. So you're not going to bring the infield in at every position, not with Wilkerson, who has a whole lot of power, but the Cubs will concede the run if it's hit to anybody but Maddux or Ramirez.
High and tight, Wilkerson lined to Derek Lee, who went sprawling to make a terrific catch. That opened up our ball game tonight. Same spot, same result. Ball 2, 2-0.
Wilkerson's always had good luck against Maddux, and you mentioned the first time he hit the ball very hard, but he came in hitting .333. And that's far and away the most success of anybody on this club.
There's the fly ball. It's hammered to right field. Sammy going back. Judged that one well. Makes the catch on the warning track. And his tourist will come home to score. Montreal grabs a quick 1-0 lead.
RBI 57. And when your leadoff hitter has hit 27 home runs and has driven in 57, you wonder why he's not hitting in the middle of the order. And we talked to the Expos about that very fact. And what the explanation was ideally you'd want Chavez and perhaps maybe down the road his tourist to lead off. But right now, Wilkerson is more prepared to take more pitches and work the counts better, and that's why they have him as a leadoff hitter.
Chavez down a strike. This one flared into shallow right field. Sammy coming on, still coming on, and he's there. And that retires the side. The leadoff double, a sacrifice, and a sac fly gives Montreal an early lead.
It may start with a look. It may start with a sound. It may start with the feel. It may start with the drive, or it may just start with the price. The newly redesigned C230 Sport Sedan, starting at $29,970. How will it start for you?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, 500 miles that test the might of man and machine on the Firehawk Indy 500 race tire. The performance and unity technology of the Firehawk Indy 500 street tire. Born at Indy, performs everywhere. See a participating Firestone retailer for free Friday ticket booklets. Tickets good for IndyCar Series events Friday, September 10th, 2004 at Chicagoland Speedway.
Introducing Arby's Market Fresh Low Carbies Wraps. Try the Market Fresh Turkey Ranch and Bacon or the Market Fresh Ultimate BLT. Great taste without all the carbs.
A rover can get out of a ditch on the moon. If a tugboat can tow an enormous freighter. If an M1 tank can have a heavy-duty Allison transmission, then why can't your truck? At GMC, our engineers don't just ask questions, they have answers. The GMC Sierra line of pickups. Professional-grade engineering. It's not more than you need, just more than you're used to.
Well, a day off tomorrow, and then it's the big doubleheader, and we'll have both of Friday's games for you here on Fox Sports Net Chicago, beginning at 1 o'clock Central Time. Cubs will be the home team for both of those games, which is a very big break, perhaps. Cubs will have 82, not 81 home games in 2004.
The Cubs have had a base hit in each inning, and a double play ended both innings, so they're going to get to Scott Downs. There's not much doubt about that. You know, he has to change speeds. He's got to certainly use both corners of the plate. The plate is 17 inches wide. He's got to work with an inch on either side, or he has some problems.
Two balls and a strike to Mark Grudzielanek. A lot of former Cubs, a lot of former Expos locking horns in tonight's game. And that's a little low. 3-1 your count.
There's another thing that Downs can't afford to do, and that's walk people. Greg Maddux is not going to walk very many, if any, this evening.
It's 3-2 pitch coming up now.
Mark Grudzielanek had arguably the best year of his career, playing shortstop for these Expos on the artificial surface.
That was in '95, I think, when he began his career at short.
He had 200 hits that year.
That one speared on the mound by Downs. Fine play, retires Mark. 1 up, 1 down in the bottom of the 3rd inning.
Well, we know Greg Maddux can field, and now we see that Scott Downs can field also. It helps if the ball is hit to your glove hand side. If it's hit to your pitching hand side, it's a lot more difficult to move the glove across. Downs was able to take a base hit away from Grudzielanek.
That'll bring up Paul Bacco. Lefty-lefty matchup here. Bacco lays down a bunt. Downs to the 3rd base line. Fields and fires and gets the catcher by a quarter step. 2 outs.
Well, we've seen now Scott Downs able to field. That was a very good bunt by Bacco. And he almost legged it out. So 2 plays in this inning. Scott Downs been equal to the task in both plays. Greg Maddux can swing the bat a little. He's helped himself a few times, including, if you remember, in Montreal against these same Expos.
Cubs put on the hit and run with Greg Maddux.
And then the odd play where he hit Paul Bacco in the back, and the ball carried into the outfield.
Ball was standing on top of the 3rd base bag when the ball hit him, and it ricocheted past Batista, and the Cubs got a run.
I think if you'll look at the rule book, however, you'll realize the Cubs got a break, because if the defender is in back of the base runner and the base runner is hit in fair territory, even if he's on the bag, the base runner is out.
So are the Cubs in the 3rd inning. Scott Downs had a terrific frame of work. No score after 3. 1-0 Montreal.
What's here to do in Philly? Oh, boy.
Well, I guess they want to come over and see the Liberty Bell.
You got the Liberty Bell.
We have the Liberty Bell.
Pretzels.
The National Constitution Museum.
There's lots of theater, excellent restaurants.
Well, there's a lot of culture here.
It's like a baby New York.
For me, it's
cheesesteak. Cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak?
Cheesesteak.
Now there's another great reason to go to Philly. You can fly there for just $99 on Southwest Airlines.
I love Philadelphia.
You are now free to move about the country.
You've been patient, waiting for the perfect time. Now that time has arrived. Buick Closeout 04. The days of September bring the smart buyers to the table. Move up to the luxury and versatility of the 2004 Rendezvous. With great cash back or financing options. Buick Closeout 04. What are you waiting for? Move up to Buick quality. Quality that lasts.
When we are dancing and you're dangerous, Lindy me, I get ideas. I get ideas. And after we have kissed goodnight, still you linger.
Rico moves your ideas forward.
You get ideas too.
Cubs baseball is brought to you in part by Southwest Airlines. Over 2,800 nonstop daily flights to 60 destinations all across the country. Buick, the spirit of American style. And by Rico. How well do you print, copy, scan, fax? How well do you ship?
Well, let's take a look at tonight's Aflac trivia question. Since 1969, how many pitchers have won 25 games or more in a single season?
I can name a couple of them. I think Fergie was one. I think Ron Guidry was another. I know Bob Welch was another. And let's see. Who are you riding home with tonight? If you say a cabbie, you'd be wrong.
Ahmed Jababuli from Jordan.
Close, but he didn't.
He didn't.
No, I would have to be one of them. So I would say maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6. No, wow, see, that's going back a long time. Let's say 7 or 8.
Well, which is it, 7 or 8? It's a very simple question.
Well, you take one of them.
I'll say 7.
I'll say 8. Boy, are we easy to get along with. I told you.
Armless fuzzballs. 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Down goes Rivera. And Greg Maddux has his first strikeout of the game. Termel Sledge will hit. He tapped out his first time up.
Well, the one thing you do know as a guarantee, Greg Maddux is going to be around the plate. He's going to work quickly. And the game he's involved in, unless it goes 17 innings, is probably going to be a quick one. That's what makes Greg Maddux not only a Hall of Famer, but the best pitcher to ever pitch on a getaway day.
Look at that ball. Drops straight down. Derek Lee flips to Greg. Good timing on that play, and quickly 2 outs in the 4th inning.
I think if you spend your entire life watching Greg Maddux in each and every start, you will never see him not break the first base on a ball hit to the right side. I mean, when you win 13 consecutive Gold Gloves, you do just about everything right. And that really helps. In the National League, if you can bunt, I mean, it helps if you're a good hitter, but if you can bunt and field your position, and Greg Maddux, as you can see, can field it with the best of them, you got a real good chance of winning a whole lot of games.
Brendan Harris bounced out his first time up.
The reason why he gets so many chances is that he throws a lot of sinkers away from the hitters. They try to pull it, and they hit it right back to him. That's why he's had to been such a good fielder all these years.
Another chopper to the left side. Ramirez will let that one roll out of play. You know, it was kind of funny. If you talk to Oniri Flita, the fine front office executive with the Cubs, a lot of folks around the baseball world thought the Cubs didn't give up much when they acquired Nomar Garciaparra. Oniri feels the exact opposite is true. They were very high on this kid, Brendan Harris, very high on Francis Beltran.
And don't forget Justin Jones, who wound up in Minnesota. But also, the Cubs got another hitter in that deal, and Jim Hedry is very high on him, so it turned out to be a good trade for everybody. And that's how you like to make deals. I mean, I think the day of just out-and-out fleecing people is over. They've got the same scouts you have. They evaluate your system as you do, and Nomar Garciaparra can flat out play. He can hit, and he's a great addition to this lineup.
2 balls, 2 strikes. I agree with you. I don't think you ever want to fleece another team, because there may come a day and age down the road where you have to go to that ball club again and they have an exact spare part that they don't need that you desperately do, and they may be very reluctant to deal with you.
And it was a 4-team deal. And obviously Michael Barrett originally was ticketed to Oakland. The Cubs got him. Damian Miller for Oakland is on a consecutive errorless streak behind the plate. He's had a great year for Oakland.
Maddux strikes out Harris, and he has a perfect 4th inning. This game moving right along. Cubs trail by a run. Top of the order coming up.
Not too close. What do you think? I got that insurance?
What insurance is that, Yogi?
The one you really need to have. If you don't have it, that's why you need it.
Need what?
Well, if you get hurt and miss work, it won't hurt to miss work. And they give you cash, which is just as good as money.
Aflac. Ask about it at work. Despite genetic similarities, siblings often harbor tension between each other. This can result in provocation against the older counterpart. But these are merely attempts to discover his place in the family. Cobalt, the new commotion, coming to the Chevy family.
Introducing the Sports List.
With Summer Sanders.
The new show that counts down anything
and everything
in the world of sports.
The Sports List, weeknights on FSN.
I think maybe against lefties, you have to stay in a little bit longer. Righties, maybe sometimes I tend to take a little bit for granted, but you got to get to that point where you treat the right-handers and left-handers the same, like you know, a lot of the great left-hand hitters do. And once a player does that, you know, they'll be fine.
Well, Corey sure has been fine in the leadoff spot since moving in there at the turn of the calendar to the month of August. He hasn't stopped hitting. Anderson enters play tonight at 285, 21 home runs, 27 steals. He's only the 4th Cub ever with a 20-20 year.
Well, I had a late brunch with Corey today, and we talked a lot about his success with left-handers. He says, you know, occasionally they try to sneak ahead with the fastball. He said if they get it around the belt, he goes, that's a pitch that I can handle. Now, Downs didn't do it. He worked with a couple of curveballs. He wasted a fastball. You would think he would go back to the breaking pitch here. And there it is, and there he goes.
3rd strikeout. 1 up, 1 down. Let's go back to our Aflac trivia question. 20 wins, a remarkable accomplishment. 25 or more, pretty rare. In fact, in the last 25 or 35 years, how many men have done it?
Well, I gave you the first choice, Chippy boy.
Yeah,
you picked 7, I picked 8. And we'll take a look. Carlton and Bob Welch with 27. Can't remember that guy, but Guidry, Hunter, Jenkins, Lolich, and Seaver. Well, some great pitchers on that list and me.
What did you remember most about that run that you got on with Baltimore?
Well, there was a number of highlights. The All-Star game was one.
Now, I'm not talking about the All-Star game or being on a run where you're on pace to win 20 games or more. I mean, that's got to be incredible.
I won my 20th on August 19th. And so it was one of those years where everything happened perfectly. What I remember, Chip, was the bullpen did not blow a save for me until the last game of the year. In the 9th inning of a game, I had a 1-run lead, and they gave up a double to tie it up. It was the only game they blew.
Jamie Carroll tracks that down in short right. 3 real good defensive plays by the Expos in the last inning and 2/3. Base is clear for Nomar.
So we had Tim Stoddard in the booth last night for us, and he was one of the guys out of that pen, along with Sammy Stewart and Tippy Martinez. I don't care how good a starting pitcher you are, you have to have a great bullpen. The Cubs will be the first to tell you that. I think as a team, they've thrown 3 complete games. You depend on your bullpen a whole lot. They're part of your success each and every year. I mean, that year I only completed 9. So I needed some help.
Big, strong guy like you, only 9 complete games, huh?
Yeah. Well, you know, the plate was wider in those days.
Base is clear for Nomar Garciaparra. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fly ball center field. That should be playable for Indy Chavez. And so far, Scott Downs is out dueling Greg Maddux. 1-0 Expos after 4.
The 260 horsepower supercharged Grand Prix Comp G. The new 275 horsepower GXP. And now, the 350 horsepower GTO. See your dealer now for a great offer.
I'm out. I guess I win. Funny how a quality beer can turn a bad hand into a winner.
Samuel Adams, always a good decision.
Hurry into Circuit City today for big savings on the latest desktop and notebook computers. Right now, save $250 on this compact computer package. It's loaded with an Intel Celeron D Processor 330, 17-inch flat screen monitor, plus an HP color printer.
Former original Marlin, David Weathers. He rejoins the club today after being released by the Houston Astros. Guys, back to you.
Capper, thank you very much. The Marlins riding a terrific year by Armando Benitez in that bullpen. The opposition 0 for their last 33 at the plate against the Florida closer, who is, by the way, a very inviting free agent target at season's end.
Well, that's one of the strengths of the Florida Marlins, and that's what scares you. They have pretty good starting rotation. I don't think at the tail end it's quite as good as the Cubs. However, their bullpen's spectacular, especially with the addition of Guillermo Mota to set up Armando Benitez. And you're right, he's probably going to be the most coveted by far reliever in the free agent market. There's going to be some great talent this year in the free agent market. I think, I don't know, I can't remember his name, but that center fielder from Houston will be there.
The guy who didn't play today. Schneider swings and misses for a strikeout by Maddux. 1 away in the Montreal 5th. Yeah, Carlos Beltran will be a free agent. Omar is going to be a free agent.
Adrian Beltre. And we'll take a look at a disappearing fastball from Greg Maddux. Everything he throws moves.
I think Carl Pavano's a free agent too, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
And he'll be the pitcher in Game 1 Friday against Mark Pryor. Logan Lansing will make his major league debut for Florida in Game 2 of the double dip.
I don't think he's pitched above A ball.
He'll face Kerry Wood. And Saturday it's Dontrell Willis and Carlos Zambrano. Sunday A.J. Burnett and Matt Clement at the moment penciled in to conclude that series.
Well, Matt said that he feels that he has a good chance to make that start.
Bouncing ball by Jamie Carroll. Nomar bobbles, but still got his man. Marvin Hudson thought about making a safe call. Excuse me, Darrell Cousins thought about making a safe call, but he gets the call right and calls out Carroll for out number 2.
This ball bobbled just ever so slightly, but a real strong arm gets it there a half a step ahead of Carroll.
Here's his Turris. He hit a double that Sammy misjudged in right and scored on a Wilkerson sacrifice fly.
He's hit for the cycle against the Cubs, and that's in about, I think he's played 5 of the 6.
He's a good-looking player.
Well, he's 19 years old. He's going to be the everyday shortstop, you would think, next year. And his brother is a star with Los Angeles Dodgers. By the way, it's going to be pretty tough to catch those Dodgers, especially with Jason Schmidt giving up 6 runs in each of his last 3 starts.
That's called third strike. 3 up, 3 down in the 5th inning. Time for the Cubs bats to awaken against Scott Downs. It's a 1-0 Expo lead.
Just gets better. For a limited time, get into any 2004 Ford Explorer and get a free 100,000-mile powertrain extended service plan. Add to that an impressive list of available luxury features, a best pick by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, and a great deal. Choose $4,500 cash back or 0 for 60. Either way, you get an extra $1,500 clearance cash. Plus,
it's 1-0 Montreal as we head to the bottom half of the 5th inning. Greg Maddux pitching pretty well. Scott Downs, however, the former Cub, just a little bit better so far tonight.
Well, a couple of mistakes have turned the game around. Sammy misplayed a ball in right field. Not much you could do about that. Moises Alou got doubled off, and that's the difference in the game. But a long way to go for the Cubs. They have a lot more offense, and hopefully tonight they can complete taking 2 of 3 from these Expos.
Middle of the order is coming up. That starts with Moises Alou, who you know is thinking about tying it with a line drive home run here. Just 4 hits combined. We talked about it at the start of our broadcast with the wind howling in. Offense will come at a premium tonight. The Expos got the early run for Downs, who's fielded his position exceptionally well. That ball driven in the air to right. Rivera is there. 1 pitch and 1 man out as we begin our Toyota Fan of the Game inning. Denise Bakken of Shabbona, Illinois is our contestant. If the Cubs score here, Denise will win a Fox Sports Net Toyota prize package, which includes a hat and a t-shirt.
Both pitchers emptied out the bullpens last night. Frank Robinson used 5 relievers. Dusty Baker used 7. So both of them tonight want to make sure their starters go deep into the game. You know Maddux is going to. He's pretty much used to it. It's a cool night. You're not going to wilt tonight. But Scott Downs is not used to going deep into the game, and let's see if the second time through is the charm for the Cubs.
Out of playoff bat of Sammy Sosa here as we've reached the 8 o'clock hour already.
Scott Downs has averaged less than 5 innings per start. He's in the 5th inning now.
Well, taking nothing away from Downs, when you face a team like the Cubs, who, as Derek Lee said yesterday, lives and dies by the home run, as difficult as it is to hit the ball out of the ballpark tonight, you've got to figure Downs has a very good chance of pitching deep in the game.
Well, another advantage, they saw Ayala last night for 2/3. He'll probably be available, but they saw Cordero and Tucker for 2 each. Cordero is the man you worry about because he's their closer.
Downs thought he got it there, but Sammy will see another pitch. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
In the same count last time, Downs threw a fastball up and on the outer portion of the plate. That's how he got Sammy. Let's see if he gets a little too much of the plate this time.
Off his thumbs, popped up. Schneider behind the plate. Wind pushing that toward the seats, and Schneider has just enough room. Alou and Sosa fly out, pop out respectively, and Ramirez the hitter.
Well, sometime, someday, even with the wind howling in, somebody more versed in physics than I will explain why the ball always rotates back toward the field of play, because that's the only thing that kept this ball in play. Ryan Schneider stayed with it. And quickly, 2 up, 2 down.
Ramirez hit the sinking line drive to right that Rivera caught. And he threw out Alou at second base, completing his 13th assist this year.
He's got a great arm, but that one didn't take a great arm.
1 ball, 1 strike. 1-0 Montreal, the lead, as we're already in the 5th tonight.
Ramirez has had just a spectacular season. He's going to join the 30 home run club with 1 more. Sammy needs 1 more. Derek Lee needs 1 more. And there's a comparison, not much to choose from between these 2 pitchers.
Downs is pitching very effectively, up and down, in and out.
Especially with a guy whose ERA was 7.22. Now for Scott Downs, he's coming back from major arm problems. So this for him is a rebound game.
Ground ball towards short. Convenient hop for his Turris. And Downs has retired 11 consecutive Cubs. He qualifies for the win. He's up a run after 5.
Restlessness most often besets the younger sibling. Feel at home. Everywhere. Introducing Infinity's new full-size SUV, the QX56. Surround yourself with refinement, entertainment, and comfort for 7. From Infinity.
Scott Downs will lead off the 6th inning for Montreal. And he leads by a run. His sacrifice, one of the key blows in the game. He moved his Turris from 2nd to 3rd, where Wilkerson drove him in back into 3rd. Greg ahead of him now, a ball, 2 strikes.
Maddux is throwing nothing but strikes tonight. He's been around the plate with everything.
Rolled out of play. Yankees and Devil Rays rained out, apparently. A doubleheader for them tomorrow.
Well, they're still going to have 1 game then to make up, and you know that's going to figure prominently the way Boston is charging, and they're playing great baseball. And the Yankees trying to hold them off.
Boston's in Oakland later on. They just continue to pound the baseball out west. What a race in the American League's East. The 2-2. Downs called out on strikes. He won't argue about that. That's 5 strikeouts for Greg Maddux in the game. And Cubs fans are invited to join the Magical Gatherings Vacation, brought to you by AAA Travel. Join Hall of Famer Billy Williams, Oramis Ramirez, LaTroy Hawkins, Lee Smith, Jody Davis, Jim Hendry, Sarge Matthews, and the cast of the Walt Disney World Resorts, December 2nd through the 6th in beautiful Orlando, Florida. Enjoy all the holiday magic in Walt Disney World theme parks, including a welcome party, private events exclusive to Cubs fans, and more. Contact AAA Travel at 1-866-4AAA-CUBS and purchase your Walt Disney World Magical Gatherings Vacation package with the Cubs. And by the way, hurricane season will be over in early December. Fly ball down the left field line by Wilkerson. Alou over near there again. And out of play.
It hardly ever happens here. Wilkerson with the only run batted in, that coming on the sacrifice fly in the 3rd. And that's the difference in this one. Scott Downs has been excellent. Greg Maddux has been excellent. And this is a guy you want to keep off base.
Down and in, ball 2.
He's a pretty valuable man. In fact, most of the people around the Expos say that Matt Wilkerson is their most valuable player. He's 11 out of 15 in stolen bases, and he has a lot of power.
Toward first, Derek Lee gives ground. Maddux again. Sprints to the bag and makes an easy play. 2 outs.
Good coordination between Lee and Maddux. The object of that for all you young pitchers, just get to the bag as quickly as you possibly can. That first baseman wants to make a good solid throw, and you want to be able to right your footwork.
How about Ichiro?
Well, it's really an astounding idea that he can catch George Sisler, and I think he's probably going to fly by him.
Well, with 25 games to go, he's 31 behind Sisler, who has the all-time record of 257 hits in a season set back in 1920.
He's also going to break the all-time record for singles set by Wee Willie Keeler in 1898, and his statement was, hit 'em where they ain't. And Ichiro's been doing that for the 4 years he's been in this country, and 8 times in Japan.
I'll never forget the first time we saw Ichiro was in spring training. It was an appearance against Kerry Wood in a spring training start, and Ichiro just kept lining pitch after pitch over the dugout down the third base side.
We couldn't put the ball in play.
And finally Lou Piniella said to Ichiro, hey, look, it's one time, can you pull a ball for me? Next at bat, I think Ichiro hit one all the way to Chandler and got back to the dugout, kind of raised his hands to the skies up to say, was that good enough? And Lou said, okay, go ahead. Do it your way. And he hasn't stopped hitting since. 200+ hits in each of his first 4 major league seasons.
I went over to White Sox Park and watched specifically Ichiro's style just to watch him hit. He went 0 for 3, so I don't think he's particularly good.
2-2 pitch. Why don't you call the Mariners and see if they're interested in moving him to the National League?
Could very well be. You know, he has some problems with his defense. I don't know what they are. He throws as well as anybody in the league, but
he doesn't get to play defense for both teams. That's
yes.
How good he is with the glove. 2-2 count. And Chavez fouls that at the plate. He's hitless so far tonight.
Well, Maddux wants to end this inning right here because he wants to lead off the next inning with Juan Rivera. The reason is if Chavez gets on, he's going to try to steal, and this is their biggest base stealer. But you can't steal first, and he's hit the ball in the air twice, something he doesn't want to do.
That one on the ground. Derek Lee broke towards second. Rondell fields and fires. Derek back to the bag in plenty of time. Wonder if Brad Wilkerson took note of that particular play. 12 straight retired by Maddux as we're in the middle of the 6th inning.
Max Kellerman, weeknights on FSN.
Well, this was an unforgettable night down in St. Louis in 1998. That sinking line drive over the left field fence at Busch Stadium off Steve Traxel, number 62.
Really, the irony of that home run, it's probably the shortest home run that Mark McGwire ever hit because it just barely cleared the wall. Member of the grounds crew got the souvenir and returned it.
You know, I was just thinking the same thing. You know, all the hullabaloo that took place out in San Francisco with lawsuits regarding Barry Bonds' historic home runs.
A number of home runs that were monumental have been hit, and everybody fights for the baseball. Here's a kid that Lord knows what that ball could have been worth, and yet he returned it and gave it back to Big Mac.
It was just a special night, and I know that we'll never forget so many different things. The Sammy Sosa and McGwire press conferences leading up to that moment. Remember, it was a very prickly Mark McGwire for a while until the final month of the countdown began, I think, and then he finally started to realize that this moment was exceedingly special in the history of Major League Baseball. But he and Sammy really, I think, cajoled each other and carried each other through what turned out to be a hugely covered media event. Not just the game itself, but the one-upsmanship that they had on a day-to-day basis. Sammy would hit one, McGwire would hit one. McGwire would hit one, Sammy would hit two. And they really came to a great deal of respect and admiration for each other, and that overflowed at Busch Stadium in St. Louis that night.
I think, by the way, Mark Grudzielanik's going to get a base hit to lead off this inning. And there you see Sammy jumping on a mountain of a man, Mark McGwire. Those two are credited with making a lot of people reacquainted and fall in love with the game of baseball again. And it's not coincidental that you can look back at a steady rise in the popularity of this game, culminated, by the way, by an all-time attendance record that will be set this year.
The old saying that those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. Don't forget, after the 1990 Black Sox scandal, when Babe Ruth started hitting all of those home runs in the early 1920s, the game also enjoyed a spectacular rebound in popularity. As there's a shot hit toward left center field. Chavez coming on. Another great diving catch. How many times is he going to rob the Cubs this year?
That's 4 times that I can think of. And Mark Grudzielanek, I thought, was going to lead off with a double. Except for Endy Chavez, who had other ideas. That ball was ticketed for 2. Chavez closes a lot of ground. Watch this play. He just comes across streaking and makes the play. It helps that this ball is to the glove hand side, but Endy Chavez has taken at least 4 away from the Cubs. I mean, in spectacular fashion. That's a real fine effort by a guy turning into a very good center fielder.
What a play. 1 out for Baco. Downs retired 12 in a row. He'll test Chavez again. Much easier play this time. 2 men out and 13 in a row retired by Downs. Cubs have 2 hits.
This team, not only the Expos but the Cubs, having a tough time with the wind blowing in. Both pitchers dominating. There's only been 4 hits.
So you got to manufacture some runs. Montreal was able to do that, and that's the only run in the game. The Cubs this year, when they don't hit a home run, have won 12 games. They're 12 and 27 when they don't hit a ball out of the ballpark.
Well, you still have to figure that the Cubs have a big advantage, more thunder in the lineup, and the fact that these Expos have to have a very tired bullpen. Both bullpens working way overtime last night.
Both pitchers giving their managers and their pensmen just what they were hoping for, a very long performance to this point.
It's especially important for the Cubs because of the doubleheader coming up and the game's just stacking up for the Cubs.
Brandon Harris to his left. Good pick, good throw, and it's 3 up, 3 down. 14 straight Cubs retired by Scott Downs. We move along to the 7th inning. 1-0 Expos. Well, Stoney, in a 1-0 game, little things mean a lot. The Cubs have had a couple of misplays, and that's cost them the only run in the game and the lead through 6.
And that's been it. Not much offense. Maddux has been terrific. Downs has been terrific. And the surprising thing is not that Greg Maddux hasn't walked anybody. It's that Scott Downs hasn't walked anybody. So that's our 4-game summary. Some excellent defense, some excellent pitching, and no offense to speak of.
So it's Rivera, Sledge, and Brendan Harris here in the 7th inning.
This young man came over from the New York Yankees. That was in the Javier Vasquez deal. Nick Johnson, another one of those guys who's out for the year, by the way.
He fractured his cheekbone on a ground ball that bounced up and hit him in the face.
And the real big loss, when I took a look at all of the statistics against Cub pitchers, the one name that kept popping up at the top of the leaderboard was Jose Vidro, and he's lost for the year. They've got him signed long term, and he's had knee surgery. They wanted him to get it out of the way so he could come back and be ready to go. This is a real good second baseman.
That just missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And they've announced that he's had successful knee surgery. Have you ever seen an announcement saying, geez, he had a horribly unsuccessful surgery and we don't expect him back? But they do expect him back. The surgery was successful. He should be there in 2005.
Well, ground ball towards short. I've heard of unsuccessful surgeries and the man won't be back, and unfortunately you read about those in the newspaper.
But you usually don't send out a press release.
Oh, it went terrible.
Jeez.
Just like,
yeah, we thought it was going to be good, but it turned out to be a terrible surgery.
Just like the press release when a player or team says it's time to panic.
That's exactly right. You have heard a whole lot of it's not time to panic. I'm just waiting to see one saying it's okay. We're going to panic. You don't usually see that.
Here's Termel Sledge.
But Jose Vidro, they expect to be back and healthy for the 2005 season.
Wherever the Expos are playing, be it Montreal or some other destination.
Parts unknown.
That's in for a strike to even the count to Sledge. He has bounced to Greg Maddux. He's bounced to Derek Lee with Greg covering at first.
It's a blustery evening here in Chicago. Wind blowing straight in. And both pitchers just dominating. Colorado has taken the lead. They've been awfully tough on the San Franciscos. They've beaten them 3 of the last 4 times they've hooked up. Great news for the Cubs.
They were tough on San Diego too, was that Colorado club. So you're right, the Rockies who beat them 8-7 yesterday sent Joe Kennedy to the mound against Kirk Reeder, and they're up early.
Joe Kennedy beat them in San Francisco, and although they gave up another Bonds home run, they won the war.
Bonds, by the way, hit 40 for the 5th consecutive year, 8 times in his career. He's 2 away from 700. All that despite walking 196 times. That's 2 away from his own personal and major league record. Amazing. 3-2 pitch to Sledge. Out of play, foul.
Well, with Maddux making the last out in the 6th, he's not due to bat for some time, so it figures he's going to be around for a while. He's kept his pitches to a minimum.
Did he go? He did. 14 straight retired by Maddux, 6 of them via the strikeout.
Greg Maddux is coming on at the right time as far as the Cubs are concerned. If he can win this one, he'll lead the staff in victories.
So Harris tries to get into the hit column for Montreal. He's bounced to third. He has struck out swinging. 6 strikeouts for Greg Maddux, trying to win his 10th game since the break. Be nice to our 7th inning stretch singer, otherwise he will hip check you into oblivion.
Don't forget, he's the single reason why I had season tickets 5 years in a row with the Phoenix Coyotes, only to see him then go to the Philadelphia Flyers. But first he was a Chicago Blackhawk.
Well, but Philadelphia is lovely in the winter. You can always fly in for the games, man.
Not to mention the fact that there was a defunct club that I had where you could read a good book, enjoy a movie called Jets and Sticks in Scottsdale that Jeremy would occasionally find his way to.
Shameless advertising.
It's gone.
Oh,
I don't have to. Don't worry about it.
Is that foul back to the screen? Did it go under when he moved to Philadelphia?
Our gross went down substantially.
I've been able to keep a couple businesses alive now in Arizona. So.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Brendan Harris. Just missed. Greg thought that was good enough.
That one just off the corner, and Harris had the courage to take this pitch. Maddux usually gets the benefit of that one.
Deuce is wild. 2-2. 2 outs. Fly ball hammered down the left field line. Long run from Moises Alou. And it's well out of play, and Harris swings again here.
Jeremy Roenick's going to enjoy his conducting of this 7th inning stretch to take me out to the ballgame. He and I have one passion, and that is golf.
Another 2-2 pitch. Looped into center field, and Brandon Harris has his third big league hit. And that'll bring up the catcher, Brian Schneider.
And another tradition that Jeremy doesn't know about is that the 7th inning never goes 1, 2, 3. Regardless of what happens, regardless of who's on the mound, someone usually gets on in the top of the 7th.
As you can see in my NHL career, I'm very patient, Stoney. I'm very patient.
Runner at first with 2 outs. Schneider will try to give the Expos a little insurance here. And a strike taken over the outside corner. This is a big game for the Cubs tonight. After dropping a 12-inning affair last night, a wild card lead just a half game entering today's play.
Well, counting the vacation they didn't know they were going to have, the Cubs are going to be home for a grand total of 2 weeks. They realize they have to take advantage of this homestand. And starting it off with Montreal, you figured at the very least to take 2 of 3. That's what the Cubs have in front of them. 15 at home, 12 on the road. And the schedule for the Cubs was very favorable. You had the Marlins over 500, Atlanta over 500. That was it. But these Expos have proved to be very difficult in the home-and-home series.
1-1 pitch. And don't just think it's against the Cubs. From July 30th until the present time, Montreal's played 2 games over 500 baseball against teams attempting to go to the playoffs this year. So Frank Robinson's club has not laid down for anybody with postseason hopes this year.
It's no coincidence that when they got 1 home, took Puerto Rico out of the equation, they started playing better.
1-2 pitch, and it's swung on and missed. Schneider doesn't run. Baco will apply the tag, and the 7th inning in the books. We'll welcome back Jeremy Roenick for Take Me Out to the Ballgame.
Jeremy Roenick. Hey, Chicago! I can see Chicago is still the best sports city in the world. All right, let me hear you. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jacks. I don't care if I ever get back. Well, that's root for the Cubs. It's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes are out at the old ball game. Let's get some runs! I love you, Chicago!
Sweetie?
Let me dream of you. What a wicked thing to say.
I love you.
You never felt this way. What a wicked thing to do.
Polyunsaturated.
P-O. Gingivitis. G.
Pungent.
P-U-N-G. Hyperventilate. D-I-A-T-I-N-T-D.
Sweet dreams.
S-W.
There's an easier way to get to Washington, D.C. Fly Southwest Airlines nonstop for just $79 from Chicago Midway.
You are now free to move about the country.
Ready for a whole new kind of Dodge.
Here we go, bottom of the 7th inning, top of the Cub order coming up. Scott Downs making life tough on his former team. He leads it by a 1-0 score. He set down 14 men in a row. And with Jeremy Roenick singing an inspired Take Me Out to the Ballgame, I've got no doubt something's going to happen here. Jeremy,
I sure hope so.
It's great to see you, man. Welcome back.
It's great to see you guys, Chipper, and then my old buddy Steve Stone. It's been a long time. been a long time, but every time I get back to Chicago, I have a great time. The people here in Chicago have always accepted me, and like I said, best sports city in the world, man.
Well, it's one of the great cities in the world. And I got a question for you. You know, we have beanball wars occasionally, and I remember one time I hit Joe Torre. I had to face Bob Gibson. I knew that he was going to throw at me, throwing about 100 miles an hour. Now, you hit Mike Madonna, and then you had to skate knowing that Darian Hatcher had a little target sitting as soon as you came around. I saw the hit he put on you.
Right here.
Yes, I saw the forearm he hit you. How do you go on the ice and keep your concentration?
Well, you know, you got to roll with the punches. I think for me, I always took the game as this, if I get hurt, I get hurt. As long as I wake up the next morning. If I wake up the next morning, everything's going to be okay. Whether I'm sore, whether I'm hurting, that's going to heal.
But I saw that hit. I thought you were going to wake up the next week.
I think I did wake up the next week, actually. Yeah, I did wake up the next week, but it was still, it was definitely a humbling experience. And then again, I got the puck in the face in February, which was probably the most devastating injury I've ever had. Broke my jaw in 13 places, and that one I still haven't woke up completely from.
Just want to get your opinion on the hockey labor negotiations, your opinion, what's going to happen.
Well, unfortunately, I think that we're going to come to an agreement anytime soon. I know that the players are going to give the owners another proposal in the next couple days. Hopefully something good comes of that. However, a salary cap is never going to happen in the National Hockey League, but the players will, I'm sure, take some money back from their own salaries. I think the revenue sharing, I think, is important, and the taxation on contracts is important. If there's a revenue tax. But I think that we all need to come to grips with where our sport is. If we can bring it down, let the owners make some more money, bring the ticket prices down a little bit for the fans to come watch, make it more affordable, make it more appealing to the people who come out and watch, it's going to be so much better.
Well, we really hope. I mean, I'm a great hockey fan. I know that a lot of people in this town join me in that. We just hope that it doesn't turn into a situation like 1994 for baseball, because it took them until that McGuire-Sosa home run chase that we just talked about to really rejuvenate the game. We hope that it doesn't happen with you guys.
Well, unfortunately, our game is not like baseball that is so popular that we know that the fans are going to come back. Unfortunately, if we go through this, there'll be a lot of people who don't come back, and our sport is going to take a serious hit for it.
Cubs finally snapped the string of 15 straight retired by Downs. That's the first walk in tonight's game, and it sets it up for Nomar Garciaparra. We do know, Jeremy, you're going to be busy tomorrow at the Big Run Golf Course, Chris Chelios' annual golf class. Tell us about that.
Well, this is a tournament that Chris and I did when I played back here in Chicago, and it's something that's near and dear to Chris Chelios. He raises money for Chelios children. He gives to a lot of different organizations in the city. But you know, everybody's out tonight. We're going to go see Kid Rock over at House of Blues. So if anybody wants to head over to House of Blues to see Chris Rock perform, Chelly's got a lot of big friends, and we're going to raise some money for a lot of needy kids.
Jeremy, it's great to see you. All the best. Welcome back to Chicago.
All right.
Jeremy Roenick here with us in the 7th inning. 1-0. Montreal continues to lead.
Wow. Well said. The 260 horsepower SRX V6 performance utility. Catalyst. Breakthrough.
Robert Morris College is one of the largest private colleges in the state. We awarded more bachelor's degrees in business management than any other private college in Illinois. A school where everything is cooking. Where students design a path towards their future and turn their dreams into reality. A college that will test one's inner strength and create a competitive attitude. It all leads to a collegiate experience that's like no other. Robert Morris College. Real college for the real world.
Oh yeah, he's got a little in him. And her. And them. Now you never quite know who it's gonna be. But they're all over. Sean from IT, your dental hygienist, your best friend's mother. And when you see them, it will become instantly clear that they've all got a little captain in them, got a captaining you?
Drink responsibly.
Cubs fans, come early and save big with the Cubs Early Bird Discount. During the first hour, the gates are open. Enjoy 25% off all food and non-alcoholic beverages. For hot dogs, pizza, Pepsi, and more, catch the Cubs Early Bird Discount.
Cubs baseball is brought to you in part by Cadillac, bold vehicles defying convention. Robert Morris, Rio College for the real world. And by Nissan, who invites you to shift the way you move through the world.
Jamie Carroll leads off the 8th inning. It's 1-0 Montreal. Carroll is Turris, and downs are due.
Well, I'm surprised nobody's up in the bullpen to this point, only in that they've gotten 7 innings out of Scott Downs. That's an amazing accomplishment against a very good offensive Cub team. Now, you pretty much know Carroll's going to make some contact.
He does. Hits it up the middle. Diving attempt by Gruntolana. Can't get there, and Carroll's aboard with Montreal's 4th hit. And it'll bring up Messier as Turris. The pitcher is due. Let's see if that gets Montreal's pen visit.
Well, that's why I figured that the bullpen would be up, for the simple reason that you figure his Turris is going to be bunting. A run here is gigantic. They can't afford his Turris to hit into a double play. Now they might use the hit and run with it. But he's just a youngster. I'm not sure how accomplished he is at that.
The Cub pen starts to stir. And it'll be Mike Remlinger apparently getting up first.
His Turris is a switch hitter. He's been a non-factor right-handed. Left-handed, he's been pretty good.
He's doubled and scored the game's only run. They play him way around toward left. He shows bunt, bounces it high off the plate. Baco, after a moment's indecision, that costs him. That'll go as a hit. 2 are on, nobody out.
Well, Paul Baco had to make sure to get Greg Maddux out of the way, but not charging this ball initially cost him the hit. So now you have Downs in a bunt situation, a perfect situation for Frank Robinson and the Expos. Now Maddux isn't real happy with this. It's a great bunt, and watch Baco. He comes out, hesitates just a moment, and that's all it took. His Turris got the base hit. Now what happens on a play like this is the dugout gives Aramis Ramirez the signs. Then he goes and tells Maddux just exactly the defense. Maddux is good enough where Ramirez can stay back and Maddux can bounce to the line for this bunt that should be at Ramirez.
One nothing Expos. Downs tries to pad the lead. He lays down the bunt beautifully. Only one play again, and Maddux makes it. Boy, Downs has handled the bat about as well as you can in every critical situation for Montreal. Give the kid credit. Second and third, one out, top of the order up now.
That was a perfect bunt because Ramirez was hanging back, and Maddux went as hard as he could. But he only had one play. Baco telling him, forget about third. And now the question is, do you risk pitching to Wilkerson? My feeling is you walk him. You take your chances with Chavez and Rivera. Maddux is good enough to pitch around him without actually pitching around him. And that's what Larry Rothschild is going to tell him. I mean pitching around him by trying to induce him to swing the ball out of the strike zone.
This may sound like a silly question, but how much of the decision in this situation is Greg Maddux's and how much of it is Larry Rothschild and Dusty Baker's?
Well, I believe that in this situation, Larry Rothschild went out and said to him, what do you think? Maddux said, I want to do this or this. I'd like to maybe the first couple of pitches try to tantalize him. They're going to bring the infield in. Maddux knows he can't afford a fly ball here. He knows they're not going to see a bunt, or pretty sure you're not going to. And Wilkerson has the only run of the game, and that was a sacrifice fly.
Way upstairs, he didn't offer. 1 ball, no strikes.
See, there's a lot of young pitchers where you can't ask them to pitch around Wilkerson and take their chances with Chavez because you'd be afraid that they would walk both of them. With Maddux, that doesn't figure in the equation.
And Wilkerson's been around long enough to figure he's probably not going to see anything real good in this situation.
You got to figure he's pitching around him. I mean, that's just the way it is. And he figured, I'll throw 2 out of the zone. If he swings, he swings. If he doesn't, he's on first. Then I'll take my chances with a very young Endy Chavez. The problem is you can't afford to stay back in the infield, because if Endy chops it, you can't double. So you have to still play for the play at the plate. And even though you're not going to choke him in on the grass, you still have to be short enough to come home with a ground ball. It's a tough situation defensively for the Cubs, and they're playing everybody in. Ordinarily, you'd think about playing for 2. With Chavez from the left side, you can't do that. You have to play in.
So you play it 1 out at a time. Hopefully you get Chavez and see what transpires after that. That one almost got by Bacco. Heck of a stop. That saved a run. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, you can think about a 1-2-3 double play. Remember, Maddux has a lot of balls hit back to him. He's going to probably try to sink it. Most likely he wants to stay away from Endy and hope to get the ball hit back to him for a 1-2-3 double play.
Ryan Dempster joins the bullpen. That's toward first. It's off Lee's glove. 1 run scores. Around third is his Turris. He will score. Moving to third is Wilkerson. He's safe. It's 3-0 Montreal.
And we'll see if that's a base hit or an error. With the infield in, you'd think it'd be a base hit. If it's an error, the end result is it still cost you 2. And the back-to-back hits with Carroll and his Turris come back to haunt the Cubs. Endy hits it hard. The ball hits off the heel of the glove and bounds away. With the infield in, no angles for ground balls. Still no decision yet. Bob Rosenberg flipping the coin. It goes as an E3, 1 run batted in.
So they're at first and third. It's 3-0 Montreal. Here's Rivera. He has an infield hit, a stolen base. He is struck out and grounded out. And the air in the Wrigley Field balloon has escaped at the moment.
It's as silent as 38,500 people could possibly be. You don't have to tell the fans how big this game is.
Out of play for an even count to Juan Rivera. If you're just joining us, the reason this game is so important, very simple. Florida has shut out New York. They beat them 3-0 tonight. Houston won their 12th in a row. They beat the Reds. San Diego beat St. Louis. The Giants are losing 1-0 after 2 in Colorado. And so the Cubs, who entered play today leading the wild card race, have a most tenuous hold on that top spot as we speak to you tonight.
Big doubleheader coming up on Friday. 1:20 game time. That would be the official time of the single game that was supposed to be played, and then they'll play a makeup game after.
Cubs will send Pryor and Wood to the mound, just like games 6 and 7. Those will be games 1 and 2 of the series. Runner at first goes. Bacco throws that to center field. That'll score Wilkerson. Chavez on his way to third.
Well, this started with a pitch out. That was the good part of it. It was a bad pitch out by Greg Maddux. It pulled Paul Bacco to his right. A terrible throw to second. Honesty would compel you to say that the Cubs have been awful this evening.
Yeah, you go back to the few offensive chances they had tonight. Garciaparra's hit to 2 double plays. Ramirez lined into a double play when Alou wandered off the second base bag. Downs retired. 16 of the last 17 men he's faced. And Montreal, getting very few scoring chances, has cashed all of them in. Rivera grounds out. Chavez, after a stolen base, still at third after E2. There are 2 outs now for Termel Sledge, and Dusty Baker will go to the bullpen. Maddux goes 7 2/3. 4 runs tonight. 5 hits. 1 intentional walk. Greg struck out 7 and frankly deserved a much better fate. Not the best of nights for Dusty Baker's Cubs tonight. 4-0 your score.
I thought Greg Maddux was terrific most of this evening. Not much he could do about many of these situations. He'll leave, and the only decision he can get is a loss, but the Cub offense has got to come back and bail him and themselves out of this one as Mike Remlinger comes into the game.
Best just gets better. For a limited time, get into any 2004 Ford Explorer and get a free 100,000-mile powertrain extended service plan. Add to that an impressive list of available luxury features, a best pick by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, and a great deal. Choose 4,500 cash back or 0 for 60. Either way, you get an extra 1,500 clearance cash, plus a free 100,000-mile powertrain extended service plan. So get into a 2004 Explorer, only at your local Ford store.
This just in, 8664.
Feldco.
Call 866-4FEL DCO.
If you're a candidate for new windows, call Feldco.
Call 866-4FELDCO.
Feldco replacement windows stand for top quality at a low factory direct price.
Over 100,000 Chicagoland customers have chosen Feldco. Make the right call today.
Call 866-4FELDCO.
Out of 9 Toyota cars get over 30 miles per gallon. So what does that mean to you?
Road trip. Road trip.
From Indiana to California.
I'm going to Mount Rushmore.
Portland. I love Portland.
Austin, Texas.
Santa Fe.
I drive to my mother-in-law.
With so many fuel-efficient cars, you can drive anywhere in a Toyota. So where are you going?
Sheboygan.
Sheboygan?
Well, our Geico quote featuring one of our next opponents. Miguel Cabrera doesn't want to go home until after October 28th. Nobody can stop the Marlins.
Well, he believes that, and look, every player on every team in contention feels the exact same way. Not about the Marlins, but about their team. Marlins have been good. Houston's been good. For the most part, the Cubs have been very good, and they've been leading the wild card for quite some time.
High fly ball by Sledge, hammered deep right field. That ball is going to go a mile. Mike Remlinger has had 2 rough appearances in a row.
Well, Mike Remlinger has trouble getting left-handers out because he throws over the top. Sledge just killed that ball, and the Expos are pouring it on the Cubs. That was a blast on a day when the wind is blowing in close to 20 miles an hour.
So 5 runs are in the 8th, 6 in total for Montreal. 5 runs for Maddux in 7 2/3 innings tonight.
That fastball right down the middle, and Sledge just hammers it.
Tony Batista took over defensively an inning ago, bats for the first time.
Sledge has got 12 home runs now. He's driven in 42.
He's got 12 home runs. He's got 3 of them against the Cubs.
Well, he hit one last night, but the wind tonight is blowing a good 8 to 10 miles an hour harder than last night.
Toward third, Ramirez throws him out, and a very, very shaky Cub 8th inning turns into 5 Montreal runs. Fans are not real happy. They're down 6-0 here at home.
What if all-wheel drive had brains? Constantly adjusting. Giving you the handling of rear-wheel drive. And the traction of all-wheel drive. But only when you need it. Intelligent all-wheel drive that changes with the weather. Available on the Infiniti G35.
Not too close. What do you think? I got that insurance?
What insurance is that, Yogi?
The one you really need to have. If you don't have it, that's why you need it.
Need what?
Well, if you get hurt and miss work, it won't hurt to miss work. And they give you cash, which is just as good as money.
Aflac. Ask about it at work.
You're watching Chevy Baseball Wednesdays, presented by your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers.
I'm David Kaplan with a Cadillac in-game update. While the Cubs are struggling at Wrigley, the Astros are red hot, and so are the Marlins. They win their 8th straight. Armando Benitez comes in, gets another save. This is his 11th save this season against his former mates in New York. Let's go back to Wrigley. Chip and Stoney.
All right, Capper, not a happy night to this point. 6-0. Scott Downs throwing a 2-hit shutout. And some early miscues for the Cubs really, I think, set the tone for this ball game. Cubs hit the 2 double plays in as many innings against Downs. That allowed him to settle in. At one point, he retired 15 men in a row. The Cubs defensively tonight have had a real tough time of it. And the Cubs have not been able to hit the ball out of the ballpark tonight. That's been a recurring problem for this team. When they don't hit home runs, usually they have trouble winning games.
Well, you figure that Scott Downs would be tiring. I'm not sure when he threw his last complete game, but right here tonight, this is as good as this young man can pitch. He's never completed a game in the major leagues, and yet tonight, a Lee base hit in the first and a Lou base hit in the second. And that's been it. And they've turned 3 double plays behind him. And Scott Downs, to give him a whole lot of credit, he's been good. Maddux threw the ball very well and probably should have come away with no runs scored. Instead, it was 5 scored, 2 earned. But a 6-run deficit for the Cubs with 5 outs to go.
Pitch number 82 from Downs tonight, by the way, is in for a strike. Downs was hurt, didn't play at all in 2001. Pitched in 17 games at AAA in 2002. As that ball's rolled Torres Turris at short. 2 outs.
Get the bullpen up and going, and with the off day tomorrow, you'd probably like to see Ryan Dempster, who was one of the few guys to stay out of the game last night. We talked to Ryan before the game tonight, and he said that he felt great. He said that his fastball is moving. The Cubs would love to see him come all the way back from that arm surgery. He's come back well ahead of time, and they have an option on his services for next year.
Line drive to right. There's the 3rd Cub hit. Ramirez singles sharply into right field. And Dempster, a guy you really root for. I mean, he's one of the most personable, friendly, honest guys that you'll meet anywhere in Major League Baseball. We've really enjoyed the time we've been able to get to know him this year.
Well, he could be a very big factor for the Cubs. Look, they're looking for right-handed help out of the pen. The news on Joe Borowski isn't quite as good as everybody hoped it would be, although Joe hasn't given up on this year. But Ryan Dempster can certainly help him. He's a veteran. He has over 100 major league decisions, and a guy that can throw sinkers is real valuable. And he's shown that if not all the way back, he's most of the way back. We're going to undoubtedly see him for an inning this evening.
It's 6-0 Expos. We're in the 8th. And Grantalana cuts on that and misses. Colorado still leads the Giants 1-0. That one moves on to the 4th inning of play. Ball 2, 2-1. Lots of rain around the major leagues tonight. Hurricane Francis wreaking havoc with the American League schedule. That one's bounced over the Cub dugout. Tampa Bay and the Yankees rained out. Detroit and KC rained out. Milwaukee and the Pirates rained out, won't be rescheduled because of the hurricane. What's left of it now, moving up the East Coast. The Cubs have run into a hurricane from Montreal. Popped up right side. Wind will push that over the Expos on deck circle and into the seats. It's 2-2. A 5-run 8 for Montreal, the backbreaker to this point. The 2-2. Again out of play. This Sunday, it'll be the finale of the Marlins series. At 1:20, it'll be Cubs Keychain Day. First 10,000 adults 18 and older will get a Cubs keychain. Compliments of Chevrolet. They'll see A.J. Burnett and Matt Clement. We hope hook up at 1:20.
Well, the Cubs this year have been very good in this ballpark, and that should bode well with the 4 games against Florida. This is a long homestand, and then the longest road trip of the year. Pittsburgh for 3 will end this homestand. And then the road odyssey hits the Cubs full force.
Runner at first goes. The pitch hit high in the air, right center field. Chavez and Rivera. It's Rivera and right. And the 8th inning is in the books. Scott Downs twirling a beauty. He's got a 3-hit shutout going to the 9th.
Sweetie. Don't make me feel this way. What a wicked thing to do. Let me dream of you. What a wicked thing to say. I love you. You never felt this way. What a wicked thing to do.
Aviator, Navigator. A great choice, but a tough decision. Lincoln Navigator and Aviator.
Maybe I'll try it. No.
Now with $4,500 cash back or 0% financing for 60 months, plus $1,000 for Cadillac owners. See your local Lincoln Mercury dealer today. Travel well.
Introducing the Sports List.
With Summer Sanders.
The new show that counts down anything
and everything
in the world of sports.
The most shocking upsets, the best sports heroes, the sexiest athletes, the biggest sports scandals, and much more. Hosted by Summer Sanders.
Every night, a new list.
Every night, a new argument. The Sports List, weeknights on FSN.
Well, Stoney, the Cubs' defensive problems in the 8th inning, I think, are even carrying over to our fine Fox Sports camera crew tonight.
Now, Dave Cella, trying to make the play, winds up with a face burger for his efforts. And it goes ECM. Air on the cameraman.
Dave looking on.
Hands like feet, Dave.
With a look of incredulity.
Yes,
that he didn't make the play.
And he was very surprised. So Ryan Dempster does come in the game. He'll pitch an inning, and he's been pretty good so far. On for the 11th time. This one a tough one. As far as the Cubs are concerned, they came into this homestand after an in-season second All-Star break, hoping to just tear up Montreal and look ahead to Florida. Hasn't worked out that way.
Ground ball to first. Derek Lee will make the play. Some of the fans getting on Derek this year or tonight.
Well,
he's been the least of our team's defensive problems. He's had a great year with the glove.
Yeah, wrong guy to get on because he's saved this infield by our count at least 15 errors. It's been just a tremendous year for the incumbent Gold Glove first baseman. One would shudder to think without Derek at first this year how it would have been. He's been wonderful.
Jamie Carroll continues to pester the Cubs. He's 1 for 3 with a run scored.
And it was his base hit that started everything off last inning.
Yeah, there were a couple of real key plays in that 8th inning that'll go unnoticed. One, the mix-up on the bunt between Baco and Maddux on the Asturias play, and then the errant pitch out, resulting in the Baco throwing error that scored a run.
There's no doubt for Greg Maddux, who has as much pride as anybody that's ever played the game. I think for him, he'll look back at this game, and the one thing that will truly aggravate him, because he knows physical errors there's not much you can do, is the pitch out where he pulled Baco wide of the plate, which set up the errant throw. To me, knowing that Greg Maddux, the perfectionist that he is, that will probably be the one thing that he'll remember. And I've never heard Greg Maddux in all the years that he's played. Remember, we brought him to the major leagues many, many years ago in a Cub uniform. I've never heard him make an excuse about anything. And he will not make an excuse about this evening. He'll take it on himself.
Ground ball towards second, third hop. And Carroll hustling down the line is out number 2. Is Turris. 2 hits, 2 runs. Good-looking player who might eventually slot in the leadoff spot. In fact, his Turris in this series, Steve, has been on base now 9 times for Montreal.
Well, when you consider how young he is and how much growth he has, a chance to become a pretty good player. And the fact that he's a switch hitter with speed and a shortstop will hold him in good stead in this or any league.
He's been on base 9 times while hitting 8th for Montreal. Pretty good series for the young Montreal middle infield. 2 balls, no strikes, just a shade past 9 o'clock. The Montreal bullpen might as well have had lazy boys tonight. They have not had to move a muscle down there this evening.
Well, Scott Downs in the on-deck circle. He's going to hit for himself, and he's going to have every opportunity to complete his first major league game. And for him, being signed, drafted by the Cubs, this is a good outing.
And he bears no ill will toward the Cubs or trading him for Rondell White. But I'm sure as a player, you went through it. You played for different teams. When you face the team that you played for before, you want to show them they made a mistake and let you go. Now Downs tonight will go to the 9th inning seeking a personal milestone. He's leading 6-0 with Baco, the pitcher spot, and Corey Patterson.
You've been patient, waiting for the perfect time. Now that time has arrived. Buick Closeout 04. The days of September bring the smart buyers to the table. Move up to the luxury and versatility of the 2004 Rendezvous. With great cash back or financing options. Buick Closeout 04. What are you waiting for? Move up to Buick quality. Quality that lasts.
What a wicked game, sweetie, to make me feel this way. What a wicked thing to do, to let me dream of you. What a wicked thing to say, I love you. You never felt this way. What a wicked thing to do.
Their SUV before you check out the Hyundai Santa Fe. Inside, tons of space and lots of standard features, all for $4,400 less than a Toyota Highlander when comparably equipped. And outside, great looks powered by an available 3.5-liter V6 with award-winning quality backed by America's best warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles. The Hyundai Santa Fe starting at just $17,339 with utility package. Hyundai, win. Get a 2004 Santa Fe with $1,750 cash back or 0% APR.
We head to the bottom of the 9th inning. Let's take a look at our Buick opinion poll. Who has the best relief corps in the National League this year? There are your choices. And we invite you to log on to FSNChicago.com. Dave Kaplan, Dave Otto will have the results for you on the Cubs postgame show. Hopefully, after the Cubs mount a furious 9th inning rally against their former teammate, left-hander Scott Downs.
It's going to start out with Michael Barrett. He's going to come on in this one. The bullpen up and going for Montreal. There's a look at some pretty impressive numbers for Scott Downs. And the Cub bullpen is going to get a little work. Barrett will try to get things going here in the ninth. Barrett is one of the few Cubs who's actually seen Downs. And he's 1 for 2 lifetime with a double against him.
Sergio Mitre is up in the Cub bullpen. Well, for Downs, when he's been good, he's been very good. When he's been bad, he's been beyond awful. He's gone 7 innings twice. He's won both of those games and has given up 4 runs in 14 innings. He also gave up an unearned run in 6 innings and a third and lost a 1-0 heartbreaker earlier this year. That ball dropped, but the throw at first is in time to retire Michael Barrett at first.
Well,
One away.
Michael Barrett was doing a little umpiring as he crossed the bag, trying to convince Darrell Cousins that he beat it. Hard hit ball to his tourist, who was able to right the ship, get it across, and Michael Barrett gave the safe sign. This one almost knocked his tourist back into center field. And you'll see Michael Barrett going, yep, I'm safe. Well, Darrell Cousins saw it a different way. And he gets him by an eyelash.
So Jason Dubois, after a terrific year at AAA, will dig in. 1 away. And there's a base hit up the middle. 4th Cub hit. Back to the top, Corey Patterson. The Cubs hopeful of avoiding their 11th shutout this season.
The Cubs, that's pinch hit number 39. So they've had a pretty good run at it off the bench. And surprisingly, Corey has been kept in the infield all night by a left-hander, as he came in hitting .321 against left-hand pitchers.
And maybe, Steve, the Expos are finding out a little secret about Downs. If they play in Montreal next season, when he's on the mound, blow the air conditioning straight in from center field, as he has not been tested much tonight.
It's very much been a pitcher's night. It's kind of the way it is here with the wind blowing in.
4 hits, all singles for the Cubs. They don't bother to hold Dubois, as Patterson down to his last strike tonight.
Downs hasn't let Corey hit anything resembling a fastball yet. He came in with a game plan, and he's executed it pretty well against most of the Cub hitters.
And he throws another tantalizing breaking ball, and Patterson is strikeout victim number 4 tonight. Derek Lee is singled, walked, and popped out. Fine play by Carroll, robbed him.
3 sweeping breaking balls in a row.
Downs 1 out away from his first complete game. And his first shutout.
And a rally cap with 1 out to go. There's a very distraught Cub fan. He echoes the sentiments of a lot of us.
One more strike, and the Cubs will be in an unfamiliar position. They will be looking up in the playoff race. Both Downs and Maddux gave their bullpens a rest. That didn't miss by much. 2-2.
The Cubs will be tied in the loss column with the Marlins heading into a big 4-game series with 1 more of these outs.
Scott Downs looking for his 3rd win. When he won July 11th, he was the first Montreal left-handed starter to win a game in 500 Montreal games.
That's really an amazing statistic.
They're previous win by a lefty was in 2001 when Matt Blank beat the Mets. But Scott went 10-6, down at AAA, slowly but surely rediscovering a bit of form.
Well, the fans want to see the Cubs at the very least end this shutout.
Broken bat, line drive, left center field. That'll drop in front of Sledge. Around second to third goes Dubois. And Nomar Garciaparra with 2 outs, indeed a chance.
Still have a little life. The second base hit for Lee. He's 2 for 3. He's been one of the Cubs to salve Scott Downs. And even though the bat goes down, Lee's batting average goes up. And Nomar Garciaparra with a chance to extend it. I would think this might be the last hitter that Downs will see if he doesn't get Garciaparra.
Strike one, lashed out of play. Nomar has hit the 2 double plays and is flied out to center this evening. Popped up center field. Endy Chavez is coming on. Rivera is there as well. It's Chavez, and a milestone for Scott Downs. His first major league complete game and shutout. He beats his former mates 6-0 tonight. Montreal gets a big 5-run 8th inning play, and there's the story at the moment. The Cubs have surrendered the wild card lead to the red-hot Houston Astros, who've won 12 in a row. And the Florida Marlins, even in the loss column, a game and a half back and coming to town for a doubleheader Friday afternoon. What a day for that young man, Scott Downs.
It was a 5-hit shutout. The Expos take 2 of 3 for the Cubs. A very disappointing loss, and absolutely nothing went right. Frank Robinson and Dusty Baker are going to meet on the field, a Hall of Famer and a longtime manager. It's a nice scene to see Frank and Dusty shake hands. You know that Frank is saying to him, look, good luck the rest of the way. Dusty doesn't want to see his team lose 2 or 3 to this Expo team, but give them a little credit. They just flat outplayed the Cubs in Wrigley Field, something that most teams have not been able to do this year.
So Dave, we talked about it earlier tonight. These Expos, a vagabond ball club, a team with a lot of young players with a lot to prove in the major leagues, have not rolled over and played dead against contending teams this year. They're 3 games over 500 since the end of July against playoff hopefuls, and they put a serious crimp on the Cubs' playoff plans with a 6-0 shutout here tonight. Downs the winner, Maddux the loser. A day off tomorrow. Then the Marlins come to town Friday for 2. Steve Stone, Chip Carey, let's send it to Dave Kaplan and Dave Otto. They're standing by in our Fox Sports Net Chicago studios.
All right, thank you, Chip. Guys, coming up on tonight's post-game show, we'll head back out to Wrigley Field and get Dusty Baker's thoughts on tonight's game. We'll also check out where the Cubs fall now in the National League wild card race, and we'll preview Friday's double dip, the red-hot Florida Marlins, winners of 8 straight. It's all next on the post-game show.
Fox Sports Net coverage of Chicago Cubs baseball is brought to you in part by Southwest Airlines. Over 2,800 nonstop daily flights to 60 destinations all across the country. Your Chicagoland Pontiac dealers. Heineken, it's all about the beer. Heineken. Comcast, proud to be Chicagoland's cable company. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey. Nobody makes whiskey like Jack Daniel's. And by Hyundai. When your car comes with America's best warranty, you win. Hyundai.
Initial quality is winning people over. The Hyundai Sonata was just named the highest-ranked entry midsize car in initial quality by J.D. Power and Associates. That dedication to initial quality lets Hyundai offer America's best warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles. And the feature-packed Hyundai Sonata starts for as little as $15,394. So don't buy another sedan before you check out the highest-ranked Hyundai Sonata. Hyundai, win. Get a 2004 Sonata with up to $3,000 cash back or 0% APR.
Introducing IMAX, a half hour of sports news like never before.
That void in sports news is now filled.
Diverse guests, smart analysis, and challenging questions.
It's just my opinion, but I'm right.
IMAX with Max Kellerman. Smart, funny, and always opinionated. Weeknights on FSN. On the next Beyond the Glory, Pete Sampras was a champion with the heart of a lion.
Pete's a Joe DiMaggio for tennis.
But when his critics cross the line...
You can criticize me, but don't criticize my family.
It never feels good to have people talk negative about you.
He silenced them with the finest performance of his career.
I had the last word, and that feels great.
Pete Sampras, Beyond the Glory, Sunday on FSN.
A great choice, but a tough decision. Lincoln Navigator and Aviator.
Maybe I'll try them. No.
Now with $4,500 cash back or 0% financing for 60 months, plus $1,000 for Cadillac owners. See your local Lincoln Mercury dealer today. Travel well.
You're watching Chevy Baseball Wednesdays, presented by your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers. Is the ATA Chicago Cubs postgame show, live from Fox Sports Net.
Welcome to the Fox Sports Net studios. I'm David Kaplan along with Dave Otto. The Cubs lose to the Expos by a score of 6-0. We're going to go back to Wrigley Field and bring in Chip Carey and Steve Stone. They are digging in with Dusty Baker, brought to you by Nissan. Gentlemen.
Okay, David, thank you very much. An unhappy scoreboard tonight, Dusty Baker. 6-0, the final score, a nip-and-tuck ball game. And it seemed like you had some early chances this evening, but again, a base-running misadventure really seemed to take the air out of the offense, and Scott Downs certainly had a lot to do with that as well.
Well, he did. I mean, we didn't have a whole bunch of chances. I mean, we didn't have anybody past second base in a long time. And, you know, just makes it tough. I mean, Greg pitched a great game. You know, I thought he was out of trouble there. Boy, they beat us up in that 8th inning, that 7th, 8th inning, been killing us. And I don't know, just wasn't a very pretty ball game. Just seemed like no matter what we did, it was wrong.
And Dusty, not much you can say about this. You look ahead to the Florida Marlins coming to town. You have the off day tomorrow. Probably something you don't need is another off day. Just a question, do you work out tomorrow after all the off days you had, or do you just let everybody go home, forget about this one, and look ahead to a doubleheader with a team that's right there with you?
No, I mean, you let them go home. Because that's the last off day we have the rest of the year. So, you know, no, we're not going to work out tomorrow because that would make it like, whatever, 30 consecutive days at the ballpark. So just got to go home, try to enjoy it, try to forget about this one, and then come back ready to play on Friday in that doubleheader. We got a big doubleheader on Friday. So, you know, we certainly got to play better against the Marlins than we did against Montreal.
Yeah, Central Page, Dusty said, don't look back. Something might be gaining on you. There's a couple of teams doing that. Let's look ahead to the Marlins. Should be a fun series. We'll look forward to seeing you here on Friday afternoon.
All right, thank you.
All right, skipper Dusty Baker, 6-0, the final score. It goes without saying you have to tip your cap to Scott Downs, a former Cub who is maybe this close to getting a release from the Montreal organization. His first complete game, his first shutout tonight. Congratulations to him.
Well, unfortunately, this series didn't work out the way the Cubs wanted it, and tonight it wasn't a question of any luck. At the risk of giving Downs too much credit, he pitched a terrific baseball game. There's no doubt about it. When you don't run the bases, you don't play defense, and the starting pitching, which for the Cubs was very good with Greg Maddux, but the execution behind him wasn't, you come away with a loss. And this was a big one for the Cubs because not only does everybody bunch up, but now you're tied in the loss column. You've given up the lead in the wild card. However, the Cubs still in all have pretty much their fate in their own hands. If they do a real good job the rest of the way, they probably will wind up the wild card team. But somehow, some way, they've got to run the bases a whole lot better, execute better than they did tonight. It was just one of those games where everything went wrong. And for a very young team that the Expos are at this point, they did everything right.
So Dave and Dave, for the first time in a long time, the Cubs are looking up, not down, at a National League team in the playoff race. They're a half game back. And Steve's right. They got to tighten things up. Friday afternoon, 2 games against the Marlins. Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood lying in wait. And we can't wait to see you for those starting at 1 o'clock.
All right, Chippy, have a great evening. We will see you on Friday.
All right,
Steve,
Capper.
Let's review the keys to tonight's ball game. Dave, we'll get to yours in just a moment. But, Steve, take us through your keys from tonight.
Well, I talked about shutting down the running game, and the Cubs couldn't do much of shutting down anything tonight. It was just one of those nights. You just watched the defense. It wasn't there. The base running, which has been pretty much awful this year, continued to be awful tonight. And as far as the pitching is concerned, Maddux deserved a better fate. But when you don't score any runs, you could go, what, 20 innings, and you're not going to win. The Cub offense was not there against Scott Downs. So they continue, when they don't hit the ball out of the ballpark, to be challenged as far as wins are concerned. Very disappointing evening, losing 2 of 3 to a club that really shouldn't be in the same league as the Cubs, but they certainly were, and all that in the season series, 3-3 against a team that is young, inexperienced, but looked pretty hungry in this series.
Tony, would you mind taking my key and just blowing it up? My key was terrible tonight. You know, one of the things with Scott Downs on the mound and the amount of walks that he's had, coming into this ball game, he was around the plate all night long, and I've been there, Stoney. You know, a guy that's struggling, you go through the first couple innings, you get 2 double plays in the first 2 innings, then all of a sudden you have that confidence just continue to build, and I think that was the case with Downs, and then obviously once he got the lead, he was on cruise control, but he had good stuff, and unfortunately Cubs did not swing the bats well at all.
Well, Dave, quite frankly, it shocks me that your key wasn't right on the button. But, you know, we'll get him the next time. We've got a doubleheader on Friday. You got a chance to have 2 bad ones.
You got it.
Okay, pal.
Stoney, one interesting stat. Do you realize in 54 innings against the Expos, the Cubs were shut out in 48 of them? That is absolutely a mind-blowing stat when you think of the type of offense the Cubs bring to the table.
Well, there's a couple of factors in there, Cap, and that is up in Montreal, the Cubs have always had trouble scoring runs. That is held true regardless of who's wearing the Expo uniforms and who's wearing the Cub uniforms. Also, when the wind blows in at this ballpark, it's not to the Cub advantage because they have so much power than most of the teams they play. If you level the playing field and you force the Cub team to execute both offensively and defensively, especially on the base paths, most likely they don't do that very well, and so they leveled the playing field tonight. The wind was blowing in. The Cubs didn't hit the ball out of the ballpark. That's got to improve when the Florida Marlins come to town. They're a team with some speed. They're a team with pretty good starting pitching. They're a team with an excellent bullpen. And that's something you have to deal with when you deal with the Marlins. But the Cubs have 6 with them, 4 in this ballpark. A doubleheader in that ballpark. They got to take advantage of the next 7 games at home. If not, it'll be in early October for them.
Stoney, have a great evening. Enjoy your day off, and we'll see you Friday at the ballpark.
Okay, Cappy.
All right, Steve Stone. Now, Dio, Greg Maddux deserved a much better fate today. He pitched a darn good ball game.
Yes, he did, really. The first run that he gave up was on a fly ball out to right field that was misjudged, and then that was about it until the dreadful 8th inning where 5 runs were scored. But Maddux overall, you know, what he's been doing really all year long, and more so in the second half, just setting up hitters. I mean, I didn't see any pitches above, you know, thigh high tonight. And, you know, in a sequence, you're going to see about 4 different pitches from Maddux if he doesn't wipe you out before that. And here's the case against Brian Schneider. You know, cutter, first pitch, fastball, changeup, and then another cutter. I mean, he had all of his pitches working tonight. He ran out of gas in that inning, but again, really not the fault of Maddux in that 8th inning. Just another superb outing for Maddux, and you're going to pick up the box score tomorrow, and he's going to have an L next to his name, but boy, he pitched his tail off.
Yeah, he pitched his tail off. If you make the play at first base, things totally different in that 8th inning, and you're right, a misplayed fly ball led to the only run they had going into the 8th inning.
Exactly, and on the flip side, Scott Downs, you know, my key for tonight's ball game was, you know, patience with him. You know, the Cubs are a ball club, though, Cap, that, you know, they're going to get it done. You know, they're going to be first pitch swinging. This is first pitch swinging here in the first inning, double play. You know, I got a double play in the 2nd inning when Moises Alou was doubled off from second base. You know, every once in a while he climbed the ladder with the fastball, but he had a pretty good breaking ball, particularly threw some good breaking balls to Corey Patterson. Had trouble laying off a couple of pitches, and anytime, you know, you fall behind in the count, I don't care who you are, you become that much better of a pitcher. Cubs weren't able to work the count against Downs. You know, with the wind blowing in, they're just in a funk right now. And boy, I think at this point in the season, I know the Florida Marlins are hot, but I think the Cubs are anxious to play against the Florida Marlins. And I'll never forget, I came back with the Cubs on a road trip last year. The Cubs were flying high coming off that St. Louis series. They swept Milwaukee. They go down to Puerto Rico. They play the Expos. They lose 2 out of 3. Unexpected, but it's baseball. And they came back, and that was a quiet flight back. But again, they rallied. and they had a good September, so hopefully they can get it done against the Marlins.
They're going to have to rally the troops big time on the day off and get ready to go on Friday. We're just getting started on tonight's post-game show. Florida and Houston both remain red hot. We'll have wild card highlights or lowlights, depending how you look at it. We'll be right back. Stick around.
Captioning on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers.
Summer, you laughed at a funny green ogre. You marveled at a comic book hero. Now it's the final days of the one big event, Ford authorized clearance. Get 0% financing. Get $2,500 to $6,000 cash back on the Ford vehicles that received awards and accolades all year long. Ford authorized clearance. Get here now.
Where do you want to go? Chances are we have a great sale fare to get you there. During the ATA Fare Better sale, you can get low sale fares to over 40 destinations with plenty of nonstops. You'll fare better on ATA.
So I'm gonna go easy, go ATA. I'm gonna go easy, go ATA.
Hey, Mom. Remember when you told me to let you know if I needed anything back at school? Well, there's a couple of things.
They grow up so fast.
He's grown up. More people use Sprint PCS Vision picture phones than any other to easily share unlimited pictures. Now get 2 for $49.98. Sprint PCS. Now that's better.
This just in, 8, 6, 6, 4.
Felco.
Call 866-4FPL DCO.
If you're a candidate for new windows, call Feldco.
Call 866-4Feldco.
Feldco replacement windows stand for top quality at a low factory direct price.
Over 100,000 Chicagoland customers have chosen Feldco. Make the right call today.
Call 866-4Feldco.
Welcome back to Chevy Baseball Wednesday on Fox Sport Net. David Kaplan, he's Dave Otto. Not a great game by Northside standards, but for a while, a great pitchers duel between two former Cub minor leaguers, Scott Downs and Greg Maddux. Let's check out how it all went down at Wrigley. Roll the tape. Great night for baseball in Chicago. Little chilly, wind blown in. Good night to pitch. Absolutely gorgeous conditions every night at the friendly confines. Bottom second, one out. Moises Alou on second. Aramis Ramirez lines one to right. Juan Rivera makes a catch. What are you doing, Moises? Another base-running gap by Moises Alou, doubled off. Top three, more mistakes on the Cubs. Turris flies to right. Sammy starts in. That one's going to go a little bit farther. Ball goes over his head for a double. And you knew there were going to be some problems. After a sac bunt, Turris at third. Brad Wilkerson would step in. And he does what he has to do. Fly ball to right, and it gives the Expos the lead.
And that's what the Expos did in this series. I mean, they moved runners along. Downs laid down a perfect bunt, got Turris over to third base. Execution.
Top four, Maddux has it on cruise control. Rivera whiffs. Former Cub Brendan Harris. He's gone swinging as well. Top five, Mad Dog going to take something off this one. Boom, gets Brad Wilkerson swinging.
Yeah, I mean, his fastball was alive tonight, and then that makes his changeup and his cut fastball that much better.
And there he gets Turris, as you talk about, painting on the corner. Bottom six, Mark Brunzelanica, shot to the gap. As you said, the Expos doing all the little things right. Here's a big thing. Fabulous catch, layout, full extension for Endy Chavez.
Yeah, that's about his fourth circus catch in the 6 games that these two teams have played.
All right, here's our Feldco window of opportunity. Top 8, bases loaded. Endy Chavez at the plate. Rifles one off Derek Lee's glove. 2-run score, and that's going to put this one on ice. Expos up 3-0. Now, pitch out. Baco's throw, nowhere near second base. Maddux didn't help him with a tough pitch to handle. Wilkerson scores 4-0 Expos. That's it for Greg Home run off Mike Remlinger would make it 6-0, and there are the numbers: 6, 6, and 0. 0-5-2 for the Cubbies.
Terrible for the Cubs. What a thrill it must be for Scott Downs, former Cubs farmhand, pitched a little bit in the big leagues for them, threw the ball well, and unfortunately, Greg Maddux also threw the ball well, but there's going to be an L next to Maddux's name tomorrow.
Yeah, not a good one.
No.
Well, let's take our ATA fly around the bases. Cubs, obviously, with scoreboard watch. The Mets and the Fightin' Fish, because the Marlins win their 8th straight. Run around for Paul LaDuca in the 5th. You hang it, he's going to bang it. 2-run jack, his 13th. It's 3-0 Fish. That's all Josh Beckett would need. He gets Wilson Delgado looking. One of 9 punch-outs on the night. 8 strong innings pitched. Gives up just 4 hits. And in the 9th, Armando Benitez gets Cliff Floyd to fly out. That's his 11th save versus his former club this year. Fish win again, 3-0. Cards and Padres played this afternoon out west. Phil Nevin leading off the 2nd. That one's not coming back. Matt Morris taken deep into the 2nd deck, solo jack, his 23rd, 1-0 Pods. Bottom 3rd, 3-2 SV. Nevin again. Line drive single, plates Kerry Robinson and Brian Giles. 5-2 Fathers. Nevin 3 for 5, a home run, and 3 knocked in. Next batter, Ryan Klesko, and the lean, mean, swinging machine takes Morris deep again. 2-run jack. Finally, he's going to come down. The moonshot lands in the right field seats. That's it for Matt Morris. Padres win 10-5. There are the up-to-the-moment wild card numbers. You don't see the Cubs on top anymore. That's very disconcerting.
No, and you don't think Major League Baseball is happy with deciding to go to the wild card a few years back. I mean, look at this.
Well, I mean,
the number of teams that are still in it.
Houston and the Cubs would have nothing to play for. They're all way out of the race for the division. This keeps everything interesting as you look at those numbers. Cubbies won up in the loss column to Houston, but the Stros have won 12 straight. No signs of slowing down. The White Sox were in action tonight in Texas. Bottom 1st, runner on 1st, Freddie Garcia on the mound. Filthy. Gets Alfonso Soriano. Gets Mark Teixeira. Garcia goes 5 innings, gives up 1 run, 8 strikeouts. Top the 5th, 1-0 Rangers. And Ben Davis just inside the foul ball. May even have nicked it. Solo jack. Game tied at 1. That's his 6th home run. 2-1 White Sox. Carl Everett at the bat, top of the 6th. And he's going to knock one past Mark Teixeira. And the Sox have a 3-1 lead. And they go on to win the ball game tonight. White Sox are leading 5-2 in the bottom of inning number 8. Carl Everett did strain his groin again. Coming up, we'll preview Friday's double dip with Miggy Cabrera and the Marlins, who've won 8 straight. They do have a game tomorrow. We'll see if they're in on a 9-game win streak. We'll be right back.
Think about designing an SUV with room for 7 people. And room for the things that 7 people like to take along. But mostly, you think about the 7 people themselves and how an SUV can finally help protect each and every one of them. You think about that, then you build.
The Volvo XC90, the first SUV equipped with 3rd-row safety curtains, a roll stability control system, and guided by conscience.
Creating Chicago's best pizza begins with selecting the best ingredients. The best tomatoes, vegetables, meats, and cheeses all come together to create Giordano's famous stuffed pizza, which is why we wouldn't think of serving you anything but the best. From pizzas to the freshest salads, soups, spaghettis, lasagna, chicken parmesan, and much more. Giordano's, where being the best isn't just a slogan, it's a Chicago tradition for nearly 30 years. Giordano's famous stuffed pizza.
Indianapolis, 500 miles that test the might of man and machine on the Firehawk Indy 500 race tire. The performance and unity technology of the Firehawk Indy 500 street tire. Born at Indy, performs everywhere. See your participating Firestone retailer for free Friday ticket booklets. Tickets good for IndyCar Series events Friday, September 10th, 2004 at Chicagoland Speedway.
Please welcome
Damn Sports Show, period. Weeknights on FSN.
Let's take a look at the results of our Buick poll question from this evening. Who has the best relief corps in the National League? It's kind of interesting how the voting comes out. The Cubbies right there with the Florida Marlins, despite the Cubs having some struggles as of late.
Yeah, you like that hometown vote. And certainly the Marlins bullpen is tough with Benitez at the end, and now Guillermo Mota in that 7th or 8th inning.
And David Weathers, now a member of the Florida Marlins, an original Marlin. He was with them way back 11 years ago. Hey, here's the winner of our ATA Fly Around the Bases contest, a staple right here on Fox Sports Net. And our winner, Richard Monk of Bartonville, Illinois. If you'd like to participate, log on to fsnchicago.com. When we return on the postgame show, we'll preview Friday's doubleheader. Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood looking to exact some revenge on the team that kept the Cubs out of the World Series last season by beating the two of them in Games 6 and 7. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
To keep up on Chicago sports, order the Chicago Sun-Times with home delivery. Just call 888-84-TIMES. The Chicago Sun-Times, the bright one.
You're last, but that's okay, because at Libertyville Mitsubishi, everybody gets the gold.
It's our best-backed cars in the world event. Great deals. And what else, Bob?
Plus, get a 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty, plus 3 years, 45,000 miles of free maintenance and more.
There's only one, Bob Rohrman.
Bob Rohrman's Libertyville Mitsubishi on Milwaukee Avenue, Libertyville.
Announcing the ATA Fare Better sale. The easier way to get a great fare. With bigger planes, more seats, and more low fares. You'll fare better on ATA.
So I'm gonna go easy, go ATA. I'm gonna go easy, go ATA.
Introducing Arby's Market Fresh Low Carbies Wraps. Try the Market Fresh Turkey Ranch and Bacon or the Market Fresh Ultimate BLT. Great taste without all the carbs.
Something can generate excitement like a Volvo.
Hi, I'm Joe Cavalier from Fields Volvo. From one winning team to another, we'd like to wish the Cubs all the best in the race to the playoffs.
Cubs baseball on FSN Chicago is brought to you by Fields Volvo, 1121 South Milwaukee Avenue in Libertyville.
On the next Beyond the Glory, Pete Sampras was a champion with the heart of a lion.
Pete's a Joe DiMaggio for tennis.
But when his critics cross the line...
You can criticize me, but don't criticize my family.
It never feels good to have people talk negative about you.
He silenced them with the finest performance of his career.
I had the last word, and that feels great.
Pete Sampras, Beyond the Glory, Sunday on FSN.
In the air left field. And the Florida Marlins have come back from 3-1 down to win the National League pennant. The Florida Marlins, for the second time, are going to the World Series. What an amazing story.
And what a revolting memory. Hey, Friday's doubleheader begins a huge series. You take a look. Game 1 at 1:20 and then Game 2 30 minutes after the conclusion of the first one. You get them right here on FSN. Then Saturday and Sunday to complete the 4-game series. As I said, it's a huge series against the Marlins. Dave, this is where the Cubs need Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor to be Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor of last September.
Absolutely. You're going to have to hang your hat on the starting pitching. I mean, you saw the job that Maddux did tonight. Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor were the horses last year. Kerry Wood with a 3-1 record in the month of September. A bunch of huge outings for him. You know, Mark Pryor had a tough one last time at Montreal. And the one thing, he gave 4 runs in the first inning, but after that, Cap, threw the ball much better. I thought his curveball was good. You know, he turned around a couple of his fastballs. Need to get Mark Pryor, I think with that extended rest, that's going to help him out, get his velocity back. Kerry Wood, boy, his velocity was all the way back last time. I think he just got back to basics. Hit me. Came with that fastball, and then that hard slider, and then later on in the ballgame had his curveball. Kerry Wood with 3 pitches. Lights out.
Good old country hardball, as you like to say. You look at the matchup for Game 1 of the Friday double dip. Pryor and Cy Young candidate Carl Pavano.
Yeah, I mean, Carl Pavano has never won more than 8 games in the big leagues, and now he's in line with those 16 wins, potentially a Cy Young Award winner. He's tough because he has a fosh. He has a good fastball, but he also changes speeds extremely well. And I think pitching in the postseason last year really helped him. I mean, these Marlins, obviously, they're tested in the playoff situation. The last 2 years, that wild card has won the World Series, and for good reason, because the hottest team at the end of the year usually wins the wild card, and hopefully the Cubs can do that.
Did you say a fosh?
Fosh. It's like a split-finger fastball, and just the bottom falls out, and it's nasty to go along with a 91, 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
Did the lefty throw the fosh?
No. No, I threw singles, doubles, triples, and home runs.
Game 2 matchup, Kerry Wood against Logan Kensing. He is coming up from Class A to make the start. He did have a filthy ERA of 2.96, strikeout to walk ratio of 100 to 35. Woody, though, coming up, as Dio said, his best outing in quite a while. Well, it's going to be real interesting. Those matchups are going to be good. It's going to be a whale of a series.
Absolutely, and you know, with that pitcher for the Marlins, Kensing, I mean, he's never pitched above A ball, and all of a sudden he's going to pitch in the big leagues with that extra deck, and that can screw you up a little bit. The Cubs have the advantage, I feel, with the Marlins because I think the rotation is deeper. And that's not to say, I mean, the Marlins obviously had a great September last year. They're red hot right now. They have an offense that doesn't live by the home run. They've got speed at the top, and they have a couple other guys in the middle of that lineup that can hurt you.
All right, I'll ask you this question again. I asked it a few weeks ago. I'm trying to remember which starting pitcher we were referring to. Logan Kensing comes up, making his major league debut. He's never pitched on the double-deck type stadium, as you just said. Do you take pitches, make him work, or do you jump on him and rake right away?
Well, you like to break his spirit pretty quick. I mean, you know, you're going to feel him out a little bit. You'd like to see some pitches, but you saw what Scott Downs tonight. I mean, he had, you know, coming into this, had horrible numbers, but he threw the ball well. And once you get on a roll in the first couple innings, your confidence builds and builds and builds. One of Dusty Baker's biggest things is break a pitcher's spirit early, jump him early, so hopefully the Cubs will do that tonight.
All right, now one guy who could break pitcher's spirit in a big way, Miguel Cabrera of the Marlins. This guy is a flat-out phenom.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's a lot like Andrew Jones when he first came up. You know, he can do it all. I mean, he's got all the tools. I mean, defensively, out in the outfield, and then also, you know, with speed and power. I mean, again, I think the playoffs really helped him last year. For a young guy to be put into the pressure cooker, that has helped him. Again, when you look at this lineup, I mean, he's got 28 home runs. He leads the team in home runs. The Cubs are going to have 4 guys with 30 or more home runs. But what the Marlins do is they generate runs at the top. This is a good ball club, and they're red hot.